What's going on, everybody? Let's welcome everyone into the Sports Jedi Network. Let's talk some wrestling here on a Saturday night, a couple hours before WrestleMania Night 1. We have a little bit of a different show here today where, of course, we're going to talk about everything from the Hall of Fame, from TNA, a little bit of the WWE build-up. No prediction. This is not going to be a WrestleMania, oh my God, prediction show. I think you have heard a lot of talking, a lot of people give their thoughts, but we're going to talk about things that has been up in people's mind with the Hall of Fame and more. But first, before we get going, we are sponsored by G Fuel Energy. Go to gfuelenergy.com. At checkout, put PGH Chris and save 20% off your order on all the G Fuel products, as well. Official sponsor of the Sports Jedi Network, Dude Wipes, and the Sports Jedi Network, getting you match ready, match clean, and always wiping out the competition. Go to Dude Wipes, text Dude Wipes, save 20 to 59477. And you get a promo code for 20% off. And, of course, our final sponsor, Blackout Coffee. Blackout Coffee, pro-American, pro-Second Amendment, wake up, stand up, and let be heard. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/rumba and save 20% off your first order, or you're going to love the products. They got new products coming out for the springtime and energy. Go use my promo code SportsJedi20 and continue to save each and every time you go to Blackout Coffee. All right? Enough said. I want to go bring around my partners, my co-hosts, got the sharpest mind and the man with the hardcore facts, truth. Let's go to the sharpest mind in the program, PGH Chris. Buenas tardes.
Happy WrestleMania Day, everybody. It is time. It is a day. It is a weekend that we all anticipate in the pro wrestling scene. Happy to be here with you guys on a Saturday to chop it up before we really dig deep and review this later on this week. So I'm excited to be here. We're gonna have a good discussions and happy WrestleMania weekend to everyone that celebrates. And I'm pretty sure that's a lot of people. So should be a good show.
It should be. Let's go to the man who has the hardcore truth, the hard nicking. What's going on, Uncle Bro?
How we doing, guys? Are we ready for the biggest celebration in wrestling? We're here. We're going to give you some great stuff this evening, get you prepped for what we got going tonight. Thank you for being here, and let's get after it, guys.
I'm ready. I'm ready to get after it as well. We're just going off the heels of the Hall of Fame. I want to start with that off because us in this panel, what I love about our dynamic that we brought together, we have three different wrestling generations. You know, I could go back as far as 1983 to the current time. You know, you're Haas, you're like right after that golden era into the beginning of the Attitude Era, you know, and then we have from after Ruthless Aggression from Chris perspective. I love to see that because the Hall of Fame blends. It's a combo of all those different eras, a celebration of the then, now, and forever celebration of professional wrestling. I want to start off with a lot of things here. I was pleasantly surprised in the beginning, to be honest with you, that Stephanie McMahon opened up the Hall of Fame. Chris, right choice or not?
I was surprised. I thought she would definitely go on last because she's, not saying that she's more popular, quote unquote, than AJ Styles, but her history from WWE obviously goes back since she was a little girl. So I'm honestly surprised she didn't go last. I know a lot of fans are complaining the length of AJ Styles' speech, so maybe you could argue that this should have went last, but at the same time, it is late here in the East Coast. They did this, where they did Triple H's really long last year and it dragged out. Again, they're later. They're all probably going to party after that. So I liked it selfishly that they put Stephanie first because we got to see it. I thought it was nice with her daughters going out there to induct her. I thought that was cool. We saw her, Linda McMahon, Secretary of Education, former WWE CEO. She was there, her mom. So it was good. I could, Stephanie probably meant a lot to her to have her core family up there to induct her. So it was nice. It was nice to see, however you feel about the McMahons or not, it was nice to see a family moment like that.
All right. Your thoughts, Mr. Green. I see your comments in the thank you so much, man. We love all the feedback because you're helping my algorithm, man. So gracias, cabrón.
That's a compliment, actually. I don't take that negatively at all.
Yeah.
That's a compliment. Look at his numbers. What the fuck? Look at his numbers. Why am I going to take that personally? Why am I going to take that as a offensive? That's a great compliment. You're comparing me to one of the tops. I appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Here you go. Here you go for you.
That's not a very good insult. The dude's the top of the community. Like, come on now. Anyway, go ahead, Hollis.
When it comes to the Hall of Fame, for me, it's kind of a hard view for me because it gets very long-winded. And I don't have no problem with people being honored and being immortalized as they should. It just seems like they don't have much structure when it comes to these shows because they just go too long. And, like, I understand people get upset, like, with AJ Styles, and he didn't have a big 30, 40-minute conversation with you. The truth be told is, a lot of wrestling fans don't even like long promos on TV shows these days. Now they want the Hall of Famers to give you these long-winded talks. I don't understand that either. But from what I saw, great show. They really had great respect for the people that they inducted. So I will give WWE props for that. They put all their expenses to immortalizing these greats. So hopefully that trickles down to the shows that we watch this evening and tomorrow.
Absolutely, Haas. Let's see how that goes. And by the way, Mr. Green, your comment goes to fucking shits because our thumbnails for the past 3 weeks, we've been putting ourselves in the thumbnails. So go check out your hero, JD. His thumbnail today, he's putting himself in the middle of the WrestleMania thumbnail. So who's following who? Who's following who? Who's following who? Who's following who?
Again, I take that as a compliment. I don't know why that's. If you could have compared us to somebody that doesn't get any views, that's irrelevant, then maybe you compared us to somebody who's statistically good at what he does. So
come on, wrestling has many.
You need to make fun of us something else. Try to at least make it relevant because it's not relevant.
Wrestling has many podcast reactionary, but the Galaxy only has one. Remember that, and that's the Sports Jedi Network.
Acknowledge us.
Acknowledge us. All right, where were we? Yeah, Elliot's in the building. Stephanie McMahon. I love when she mentioned everything, her story. Stephanie is about a couple months older than me. And to see her grow up and see there and kind of identify with her journey, I didn't have Hulk Hogan in my living room. I wish. But I'm saying, watching all the different times change in the business, seeing how it was from cartoonish, seeing from by gimmicky to the Attitude Era to where we are now, billion-dollar multi-conglomerate in the world. To see that there and see that, and she literally worked and all that, like, wow, that's pretty cool to see her get inducted. Linda McMahon, nice short speech. The big pop of the night, Vince McMahon chants. So I heard a crowd. I heard a big arena chanting Vince. Thank you, Vince. Where was the negativity that they hated Vince? Is this fabricated, Chris, or what's your thoughts?
Listen, it's the IWC that hates Vince. It's the wrestling fan diehards, the weirdos that hate Vince. I don't condone anything the man Vince McMahon has done and over the past whatever. Some of the shit he's written on TV, especially during, obviously the Attitude Era with you guys know, but even during the Ruthless Aggression Era in my time as a kid watching, I'm even like, whoa, like, he's saying some things now you would get canceled in 2026. I understand that. The reality is there's no WrestleMania WWE without Vince McMahon, and both Vince McMahons, honestly. It's one of those things where you could maybe not acknowledge the man every week, but you got to understand when these people are up here giving their Hall of Fame speeches, who was the one guy that probably that helped them all, that booked him, that got this person to where it's at? It's Vince. When John Cena gets inducted to the Hall of Fame next year or the year after, who the hell is he going to bring up? Vince McMahon. All these, Triple H, that is his father-in-law, because we heard it last year. That's her father. What is she supposed to do? Act like he doesn't exist and not to give her thanks? Same thing with Linda. agree. I'm not making this a political thing, but people don't like her for the obvious because she's on the administration. Whatever. Just understand that those are her parents at the end of the day. So why are we sitting here all surprised? I know a lot of fans. I'm not saying us. I'm saying the internet. Why are we surprised and why are we outraged about this? You really didn't think this was Vince wasn't gonna get name dropped by his fucking daughter? Come on, be smart. Be smart. I had no problem with it, Kev. I had no problem with it.
And let me hear your thoughts, Haas.
The thank you Vince chants are just fans lashing out from a bad product. If the product was really great and entertaining, they wouldn't even be saying the name Vince McMahon. They want to go back to the glorious days of great entertainment when they got it on Mondays, Fridays, and for PLEs. That they hate Triple H. That's what it is. They hate the booking of Triple H and they hate TKO. They are the ultimate heels to the fans that was at the Hall of Fame, to the IWC, and to your wrestling diehards. If they were doing their jobs and they were not outpricing fans and they were actually entertaining them on a weekly basis, like I said before, you would not be hearing the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. They don't care about Vince. They just want a better product. His name could be Billy Blanks. And they just yell for Billy Blanks to come up there and make my product better. So I'm surprised they didn't say bring back Dwayne right after this. These are just fans lashing out. So they can really care less about the name Vince McMahon. They just wanted to just kick Stephanie a little bit and just let it know, Paul, do you hear these chants? Get on your job, Paul. Just get on your job. So that's all I took from it. Fans are just lashing out.
All right. I thought it was personally, there is no WrestleMania weekend. There is no any event from WrestleCon to Bloodsport to Effie's Gays Brunch to anything without the WWE making the WrestleMania what it is today. From WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 3, the 93,000 plus, if you want to argue the numbers or not, that's not what we hear about. If it wasn't for all that spectacle that is WrestleMania, there is no All In. There is no All Out. There is no Double or Nothing. There is no Bound for Glory. There is no Slammiversary. So this is a celebration where if it wasn't for that man's dream and defying what his dad wanted him to keep it as territorial and the man wanted to be national, regardless if you agree with the way how he made it national, how he made it to this global entity that it is, none of this would have been happening in 2026. Not to this degree, this level, where everyone has made generational changing money. And there's even people who has podcasts who don't work, don't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, don't pick up a tool. All they do is turn on the computer and go live and make a living out of it. So if it wasn't for the WWE and professional wrestling, where would they be?
A lot of millionaires have been made because of Vince McMahon, and they're still being made today because of him. And it'd be the same ones that don't be appreciative. They'll say, "I can't stand the man," but you're still making money off the product that he brought here. So, now
it doesn't exempt him for if he did something outside of the guidelines of ethic, normal stuff, or it doesn't mean that you're untouchable, you're invincible, you can't do any. No, there is rules in society. There's rules for everything. So yes, we get it. We get the norm. One thing I want to talk about the Hall of Fame. It's at least from my point of view, where I'm at in my life and my age, I see where they bring all these people in after the fact, like Demolition. I've seen them, watched them, brought me back great childhood memories. And then wrestlers. And one thing me and my wife agreed when we talked and saw the Hall of Fame was, if a wrestler's alive and ready to go, don't wait until he passes. It was a sad scene. Sid Vicious family getting inducted. They really didn't relish just the one kid in the cowboy hat. He owned it. I loved it. And go for it. But we all know that Sid should have went in when he was alive. No one knows when people are going. We could be here today, and 10 minutes later, we're gone out of this world. If there's someone is deserving and has made an impact in the business, put him in. And I'm glad that AJ Styles got in when he did. I would have loved Cena. I don't know why they waited for Cena, or Cena didn't want to be selfish to take away. But Cena barely, you could see that he's in pain, the way he walks and the way he's crunched over. Hope he gets into the Hall of Fame soon. It shouldn't have wait for Demolition to be this later, but they really felt that genuine warmth of getting into the Hall of Fame. I'm very happy for them. Also seeing first and foremost, it shows you don't listen to what a couple people on social media has to say. Last year, the match of the year should have been Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, because it didn't hit. It was great to see Andre the Giant's daughter, Nick Hogan, but it would have been nice to see Hogan last year get that honor of that match. Haas.
I agree with you. It's just you see the pettiness of the business and the pettiness of fans, and it just takes away from the magic that we get from this medium. People need to understand. People are not perfect. We need to be able to forgive people. You may not forget what the transactions that they do, but forgive them, because you're going to need forgiveness in your lifetime. And the people in the IWC don't understand it. Regular people in society do not understand it anymore. And it just shows you in everything that we consume that it will take away from the things that we cherish the most, because people are petty and don't want to forgive. So that's what I take away from it. I agree with you. Hulk Hogan should have been, that match with Andre should have been enshrined while he was still living, because Andre was taken away a long time ago. So I get exactly what you're putting down with that one.
Yeah, Chris, I wanted to go because I want to read something that I just came across.
No, I agree. We've seen in the last few years when the Legacy edition, right, with Dory Funk Sr. last year, I believe he was inducted to Kamala. I appreciate that they're doing that, but I agree with you both. Psycho Sid should have been in the Hall of Fame while he was alive. I also did tweet that. When it was announced, I never saw Psycho Sid live back in those days. I'm a little younger, but obviously I know his history. Whatever, he should have been in the Hall of Fame a while ago. Hopefully, I think a lot of them just had animosity with Vince, because we heard Demolition say on Busted Open, if he was still in the administration, he doesn't think they get the call. So I do think now with this current people that are in charge, maybe some of these people could get in the Hall of Fame. But I agree. Some of them have should have been here for that.
I have a question. A question about the Hall of Fame. Is it more of a symbolic gesture, or do any extra benefits come to the wrestlers from getting enshrined? Because like in sports, you got other guys that get like commercial bonuses or like retirement bonuses and
legacy contracts, probably.
Yeah. Okay. That's the biggest thing I want to know.
Probably legacy deal or something. A lot of the Hall of Famers, they have like, because I open sports cards, so a lot of them have like a sports card contract with Topps. WWE uses their licensings for that, so I think it's probably a Legends deal that comes out of that. I would hope so, because if I'm them, I want to make the Hall of Fame important. And for me, like a axe or Demolition, if I'm one of those older guys, being in the Hall of Fame could be maybe some sort of security, like maybe financial security or security where, okay, my name's still going to be out there. People aren't going to forget the Demolition name. I hope a legacy contract does come with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, most likely, because now you have merchandise about that legend. They could sell them on a T-shirt, put them on a video game, or just mention them and market them in the global WWE, where the fans, wait a minute, you're making money off of my dad. And we're not seeing the pennies, licensing. So they do a Legends deal, they put him in the Hall of Fame. But I want to, Gunnar Eddie, that's the son of Sid Vicious, says, thanks to everyone. He tweeted, thanks to everyone, all the support you've shown our family. It means the world. I appreciate every single person who had my dad's back. Last night's so-called Hall of Fame of my father, Psycho Sid Vicious, said Eddie, was straight up disappointing and disrespectful as hell. I'm glad my dad was big enough to put himself over, even in death, because WWE sure wouldn't. I didn't see one single ad of him here in Vegas, the Hall of Fame gift shop, or zero merch for my dad. Not a damn thing, but they were loaded with all Dennis Rodman crap. And you could have won. I felt like it was just swept under the rug like a footnote. I agree with him. I hate to say that. It felt like a footnote swept under the rug. I was like, that's it? They rushed it, rushing him. in and out of the way. Maybe we have to wait another 20 years until all the jealous, insecure ex-colleagues were gone. You know, the ones who could never match the athleticism, ability, his look, and his unbreakable will to tell them no. He would have gotten the full induction he actually deserved, which I totally agree with him. Now I'm trying to stay positive for my son's sake. I got to bring him here, and he doesn't know what his grandfather how they did his grandfather dirty. He thanks everyone, rest in power to the master, the ruler, got his flowers. I feel so sad because we know that Psycho Sid Vicious really deserved to be in that Hall of Fame while he was alive. And of course, jealousy, not jealousy. Psycho Sid, when he burst on the top of the scene, that's what a gladiator. He fit what Vince McMahon wanted. 6'9". He wasn't this big fat girthy guy. He was muscular. His traps, his leg, his quads, his triceps, his arms. The guy fit the bill. It's the politicking, all the nonsense. Look, we could go around even in the professional Hall of Fame, NFL, MLB. There's players that should be in the Hall of Fame that are not. It comes with the territory. It sucks. And I hope, it left a bad taste to Gunner Eddie's mouth. I don't know if anything could fix it. I think he accepts it and he just moves on. It sucks. Instead of being a celebration, we get that bad taste in his mouth, guys.
I agree with the guy 100%. And, you look at just his, look at the guys he's just been in the ring with. Like, all the matches he's had with Hogan and Ultimate Warrior,
Bret Hart,
Razor
Shawn
Ramon.
Michaels.
And look at his WCW career could have been in the Hall of Fame alone when he went there in '93. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. Because again, I know I didn't get to see him live during my time or your guys' time, but he's a part of some of the bigger matches and even in WrestleMania. So I don't know. It is weird. It is weird. I don't know too much of the backstage politics behind it. Maybe that could be a big factor, but I don't know too much about that.
Well, Richard, you're right. Sid Vicious did more than Coco Hair. Equally entertaining, probably. You're right. Look, Sid Vicious one who was a man who beat by his own drum. There was a time where he quit the wrestling business because he was committed to his town softball team. He loved playing softball, and he would tell Vince, "Nah, that's not. I'm gone." There was times that he missed bookings, or according to the stories, I don't know if that's a character defamation or backstage dirt on him, so he doesn't look like the nicest guy. The guy would look. This is Haas. And this is not a whatism. But Haas, I think this is why Tony Khan don't put the titles on big man. Maybe Vince was a little afraid to get into Psycho Sid's face to tell him about. There's been an incident about the scissor stabbing with Arn Anderson. So many different crazy things that came backstage with Sid. One thing I want to emphasize: Sid also had a hell of a run in ECW. It was short, but it was a good one.
Thing about this is, and this is what fans need to realize, and this is what people need to realize, it's hard to idolize brands because you only see the best part of what they want you to see. So we can talk about the backstage, we can talk about who runs these businesses. So we can't be idolizing brands. You got to live in realism. Like they say, we live in the reality era in wrestling these days. People have to live in reality when they sit up here and say, "Oh, I'm a diehard for this. I'm a diehard for that." These people are not diehards for you. They're diehards for your money. So they're gonna just present to you what they want you to see. So when they go out here and they have these transgressions in the background, and they come to the light, it makes you look foolish because you went so hard for them, and they don't go hard for you. So just be careful when you go up here and glorify different brands. They go beyond wrestling. That could be like if I'm a big diehard for Walmart, Target, whatever brand. Things happen behind the scenes that you will never know about. So you just have to be careful with these things. So it's sad what happened to some of the things that happened to Sid and other wrestlers. Like we got things with Bam Bam Bigelow, why he won't why he may not see the Hall of Fame.
You read my mind. I was
Yeah.
gonna bring him up before
Mhm.
when I talked about it last time. I was like, this is gonna be another Bam. Yeah, I thought about him too, and he's another one that I didn't get to see wrestle while he was alive because I'm a little younger. But he's one that I don't know if he'll even snip. And because the reason why I brought that up because I watched a shoot interview about him the other day talking about it, and he has a lot of problems with Triple H. A lot of problems with Triple H. Bam Bam had.
Well, I'll tell you another petty thing that probably that may not come. Is Shane McMahon. How come Shane's not in the Hall of Fame?
Shane, well, Stephanie kind of I didn't catch it, but I guess like maybe she alluded to something. I don't know if you caught it, Kev, where she might have alluded something to Shane McMahon maybe having a fallout with the family. Talk a little bit. I don't know if you heard that because I didn't catch it. I saw it on social media and I didn't catch it during her speech.
Yeah, I said that's so sad. She called about a fallout, and told her nephews, I still love you guys. And that kind of was so heartbroken. I was heartbroken with that because, when you think of both Shane McMahon and Stephanie, when they first announced it, I said they should have both went in the Hall of Fame joint together because they both equally grew up in the business. Both kids were both equally grown up, different aspects of the business. They should have both. It would have been a nice gesture to have them both in the Hall of Fame. And it felt sad. It felt, I felt McMahon's. It was great to get her in there, but it felt empty. I know I'm glad they had Linda out there, but it felt empty without Shane. Now, regardless if the old man was there or not, that's another. I'm not even talking about the old man. It felt empty that Shane wasn't there either. And we see Shane out and about in Yankee Stadium. It even saddens me to see him that time for John Cena. He was sitting in rows back, but they have no problem with bringing in celebrities that no one gives a crap about to put them in the front row. You couldn't put Shane McMahon unless if Shane said no. I don't want to.
I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to be around. I don't know if it has anything to do with the loyalty of his father. We don't know these things. I'm speculating. I don't know if it's like, well, my dad's not there. These guys maybe in his eyes screwed him over. That could be, and then maybe he feels like Stephanie and Triple H are with the corporate. I don't know where his head's at, but I'm sure if he wanted to, he would have been there. So something tells me that maybe him's like, I'm good. But if my sons want to be there, you want to go support your aunt, your grandma's there, I have no problem with that. But I don't want to, and I personally think that's where his head's at. Because like you said, Kev, he's out and about. He's always at the games. I don't know. I know his sons are very involved in collegiate football, but they're not doing much right now. So I don't know. I think it's a Shane McMahon thing too.
I believe with TKO, I think it's just alliances. They only let certain amount of McMahon things go on. So yeah, we'll allow Stephanie come in because she's the wife of our content officer. They'll let her come out there. They may not want to have so many McMahon's influence on the business. So I believe that may be a thing. And another thing too is this may be a hot take. And I like what the Hall of Fame is doing, but me personally, I don't think the Hall of Fame will be legitimate without Vince being in there. That's how I feel about that.
Yes, I think the ultimate FU to him, putting him in when he dies, with all these superstars like Sid, that deserve Bam Bam, so forth. I think he goes in after he passes, unfortunately, which. For us, we like to hear him make a speech and say something, but a lot of people, don't want to hear from him, don't want to ever see him, so they put him in when he dies. Look, Pete Rose, the greatest hitter of all time, he's still not in the Hall of Fame, and he died, and he's going to go in, and when he does go in, he's going to go in when he's dead. So I think he's Pete Rose. I think Vince McMahon's got the Pete Rose treatment. He's going to get the Pete Rose treatment, unfortunately. And hey, you know what? Right, wrong, indifference. It's hard to disagree with it. Again, without him, this is not even a reason why we're even talking on a Saturday, a couple hours before WrestleMania. But all in all, I hope for Shane McMahon's, he's unfortunately kind of paying for the sins of the father, where it kind of sucks. But he's making himself a man of the people, going around. Dude wasn't sitting behind front row or wasn't behind home plate at Yankee Stadium. It was in the bleachers. So it is what it is. I want to talk about the final inductee.
Okay.
I'm not even going to talk because you know what? I'm not even going to touch Dennis Rodman. I know you say, what about Dennis Rodman? I've said this many times. Great for him to come crossover. He made that part of the NWO fun. I'm going to make this a small brief. But celebrity, until Cyndi Lauper doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, I'm just going to keep passing over the freaking celebrities.
No problem with that.
I don't blame you.
I get it.
That's how it is. She is the number one celebrity that should be. And maybe she's another one that's going to get Vince McMahon. Maybe we don't know the issues backstage when Cyndi Lauper and her beliefs or whatever. But I haven't heard anything to say to keep her out of a Hall of Fame. But we've talked about this a lot. Every year when the Hall of Fame starts announcing around January, February, I always go on that soapbox with Cyndi Lauper. So I'm gonna move on. Let's go. One thing that I was surprised, Haas, I was very surprised and put a smile on my face to see the Gallows and Anderson were the ones to induct AJ Styles. I don't know. I'm like, no Meechin. She's still with the company, but I can understand. You know, she's supposed to be a heel with the baddies, but man, I was happy to see the Gallows back on there.
I think AJ wants to put a little more shine on the Good Brothers and get them back in good graces with the company. He wants them in WWE. I understand why. So that's AJ's parting gift to those guys of what he can do. I could have gave this honor to anybody. A lot of people thinking John Cena, anybody else like that. No, I'm going to give it to my guys who were in the trenches with me while I was growing in this company, while I was growing in wrestling. What bigger gift can I give back to anybody other than let these guys who probably love me the most in this wrestling business to let them induct me? So that was beautiful to see from Alan Jones there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Chris, AJ Styles, you're a huge fan of him. You're a great fan, and you know his history with the Gallows. I know people wanted to see Undertaker and Cena be the ones. I'm happy with when it came to that. I'm surprised they didn't even let Frankie Kazarian was in attendance, and I told you off air, I popped in my own living room to see Frankie Kazarian. It was exciting. Moose was in the building. Your thoughts?
I loved it. Like Haas said, not just the people that love AJ the most, they know AJ the most. And again, great to see they're not really doing much right now in pro wrestling. So it was very a shock. I think a lot of people had Undertaker, right? Because he's the boneyard. He got me out of my retirement for this match. I thought he was going to be out there just to say that. Or John Cena, because again, he had the match. He's whatever. No, I like this decision. I liked when they, Gallows and Anderson talked about he was the heart and soul of TNA, and then that man pushed the Bullet Club to mainstream, which he did. And I loved how they brought that up. They talked about a show about an independent, tell the story about an independent show back in 2006. Talked about some Japanese style wrestling. So they really incorporated the history. They weren't scared to acknowledge some other things he's done, which fan that's watched all that stuff, I loved it. Very surprising. It was a good surprise.
And Haas, people were complaining about the length of his speech, like we mentioned a little earlier. You mentioned it again. He went right to it. He said it. He gave acknowledgement to his family. How. And by the way, his son, both of his two sons, if you tell me they're ready for wrestling, my goodness, you saw the neck on the one in the middle. The kid's neck was freaking like a monster. Like those kids, the athletic gene didn't go far for those kids, for AJ Styles. Your thoughts on the whole night? I thought the whole night, at least the Hall of Fame wrap up there for the AJ Styles main eventing was done right.
Like I said, I did not watch the whole thing. I watched it in clips, and like I saw the AJ Styles speech, and I saw a couple other speeches. So from the things that I did see, the presentation was very thought out, very thorough. It was great. So I enjoyed from the parts that I did see, and I think the fans that were in attendance, they weren't falling asleep like we seen in other years. They were entertained by the guys and gals who were getting inducted. So you see like an all-around good product to me this time around.
Yes, indeed. I love that there on that view. I'm reading a couple of tweets there. What's going on to Ethan? Ethan from across the pond. He's been missing for a while. Good to see you back with us. Ethan, great you're there. Loved it. Good job there for the AJ Styles and the Hall of Fame. That portion is over. I thought Miz and Michael Cole did a good job as hosts. I have no problem. I was entertained with them. Miz, like him or don't like him, he's very good on the microphone. And to host at that later part of year, younger face, younger person to interject, I had no issues with that.
That's why he's still around. He's a great ambassador for the company, going on ESPN. He's a celebrity. He's always involved in like celebrity games or golf and the NBA and stuff like that. So he represents the company well, and I think stuff like that's still a reason why he's around.
And one thing I've said, and you heard it, not from me, but by the Hall of Famer. Bill Eadie, aka Smash from Demolition, said how important is a theme song to get the presentation done by a wrestler. Yes. From when you heard the Rick Dangler with the vocals, the guitar solos, the vocals, all the different from anyone from Hulk Hogan, Great American Hero, to the Accent Smash from Jimmy Hart, in the background vocals for Shawn Michaels, Sexy Boy. How important those music is for the entrance of a professional wrestler. It still boggles my mind why the current theme songs in WWE are so generic and so terrible. The Death Rebel nonsense, this is the thing that gets me crazy with Triple H's era, the pivot era. Why are we not pivoting from the music and go back, pivot from the crappy music from Death Rebel and get some music, get some artists. You work hand in hand with Full Sail University right by the Performance Center. You've got these young, talented men and women who are studying music, music science. Get those kids in there, intern them to go out there and bring you some good music, not this Death Rebel nonsense. There's kids out there that are talented. When I mean kids, because I'm an older gentleman, I'm talking about a younger men and women that could bring you some theme music, who could actually put something good. This Death Rebel stuff isn't working. They all sound generic. They sound the same. Copy and paste. And it's not good. And you hear the Hall of Famers talk about how important that theme music. You heard it from Warlord. You heard it from Haku. You heard it from Arn Anderson. By the way, you guys still wanted Arn Anderson to be instead of Pat McAfee? The dude couldn't barely walk on stage. It was great to see Arn Anderson, but you think he was going to get part of he was really going to make that Cody and Randy Orton match that spicy? Because we heard a lot of we saw a lot of people. It should be Arn Anderson.
Yeah. The thing I'll say, since we're going to pivot to that point, you got to have someone out there who can really generate some big heat and possibly take a bump or two. And with Arn, with any of the older gentlemen, I wouldn't want to take a bump, even if I'm with the safest of workers. I don't want to take no RKO. I don't do that. I don't want to possibly have to take a crossroads or a disaster kick. No. So I get where wrestling fans want more of the wrestling family to be involved, especially in these big time feuds. But a lot of these guys have gotten long in the tooth, and it's all about safety at this point. So I would rather have maybe a Pat McAfee, or it could have been someone else. But truth be told, if it was just another celebrity, anybody was going to be pissed. So the fire from fans is well intended, but it might be just misplaced on other people. So, yeah.
And I love this comment. Jimmy Hart probably still will come up with a better theme song. Jimmy Hart was the orchestra of a lot of those theme songs in the 80s. A lot of those theme songs, 80s and 90s, a lot of them. Jimmy Hart is a musical genius. He should be a consultant. He doesn't have to produce it, but he could be a consultant with some of the young kids on Full Sail University. You have it in your backyard. You use Full Sail University's parking lot, and you use it as a dumpster, where all the people going to NXT, leaving all their trash behind while they're waiting online to get picked up by the bus to take it over to the Performance Center. They leave all these cans and all these bottles, all the Burger King, all over there dirty. So might as well use the kids I'm talking real. I'm being really honest. So why don't you use some of these kids there that are interning, that are studying for music science, to come up with beats and music to help with some of these entrance songs in the WWE under Jimmy Hart as a consultant or someone around Jim Johnson as a consultant. It doesn't, something, because right now the Death Rebel isn't working. It isn't working. Everything sounds almost the same. Sounds, oh my God. How many times Stephanie Vick has changed her theme and they all suck?
The thing with these themes is it goes back to creative, which we can always put a lot of blame on them. They don't have diversity of thought in their creative room. All the ages are close around the same. Like, there should be generational breakdowns in the creative room. It should be diverse from a racial standpoint as well, because we got a lot of different people in our wrestling pool. So, and another thing too, they need to do like a think tank when it comes down to like, how do we get the pops? Like, what? Oh, think about our fan base. What are the ages of our fan bases? What are they following online? So all this stuff needs to be thought about. And I don't think Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes and whoever else is in that room, the elder statesmen, they don't think about those things. They just think about wrestling. And truth be told, wrestling has passed them by. And they don't want guys to get over anymore organically. And that's a problem, because they don't want people bigger than the business. That's how the business works. So I'll leave it at that. Like, I don't think the creative room cares enough for the themes to get these people over.
No, you made a good point there. They don't want them to get over than there is. But I got to say this, though. I got to blame, like you said, and I heard it from the Stephanie McMahon's promo. When she was in charge, they were hip. They were when she was CFO and brand ambassador, they were knocking on doors. She became the second highest CFO female in all of the country. You heard accolades on the Hall of Fame stuff. She leaves there. I don't hear anyone. I don't hear in the Forbes magazine anyone from the WWE climbing. Nick Khan, as much as he wants to act like he's the God gift of professional wrestling, when we ever heard him in the top Forbes list, he's not. He hasn't done anything. Just so the music stinks, the entrance stinks. All we hear is complaining. I mean, someone's got to take this. Everybody wants to take Paul Levesque slings and arrows, but I mean, I'm gonna give them all a whole hole there. They're sticking up the joint and they're taking a step backwards, a step forwards.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, your thoughts?
I feel like they don't want to pay for licensing. That's a big problem. I agree 100% with both of you. With the Full Sail thing as well, because you're giving kids like my age, right, a fresher perspective on what's relevant and not. Like, for example, like, I know maybe you weren't as thrilled with Leon changing his theme, but I was like, yo, this kid that he has the theme, he's a really, really popular rapper from the UK, but even in America, like, the kids my age like his music. And I think a lot of the people like it now and look at Ricky Sosa as well. So it's one of those things where they need to pay for licensing. I mean, look at even the 90s. I mean, Triple H, that's why I don't throw too much on Triple H. He's a guy that had Motorhead for his theme. He grew up in the 90s where Limp Bizkit was the soundtrack to Undertaker and Rock versus Stone Cold. Like, and now Fred Durst is cool with the company again. So they have people. Metro Boomin for the rapper space. You don't think he could produce like a cool theme for like a Jacob or like a Trick, or like what Haas was saying about age and diverse? You could do that right now with celebrities. Just pay for their licensing. I don't know if they want to do it, because Metro, he's a rapper that gravitates towards the young kids. He can make like a Javon, a Trick. You got Limp Bizkit, right? He could make like a cool, like it. I think they should pay for licensing, because Def Rebel's not good. They probably have like 2 or 3 songs that okay, but they're not great. And even everybody had a cool theme song, even in the Ruthless Aggression era. Victoria had all the things you said, like a really popular song. Like, just pay for licensing. I think not for everybody. You could have those Full Sail kids like you were talking about and come up with music, but I do think that has been lost in WWE since the Ruthless Aggression era, in my opinion.
I go with Def Rebel here. I believe Def Rebel gets paid enough just to make the music. I don't believe they get paid enough to care about what the wrestlers actually want. They're like, okay, this is my job. I'm going to produce you some music. I probably don't have no soul in this music, but I will produce the music. So I don't think Def Rebel actually cares anymore. They might come out with a great song 1 out of 30 tries. Like, oh, that was actually decent. But yeah, I don't think they actually care about the wrestling business anymore. They're like, man, they pay me just enough just to be happy, and that's it.
But here's the one thing that I gotta say: TKO doesn't want to spend money, but when you go to UFC, they come out to a lot of licensing music. What's the difference?
My idea, I'm not saying I'm right, would be okay. They, for the big 300 shows, right? They're big pay-per-views. Maybe they save them for those because they're not every week or every month. Like if you use like I don't know, like a Limp Bizkit theme for like the Undertaker every week on Raw or something. I don't know if that comes with a fee every time it's played. That could be something. I'm not 100% sure. That's just
the fighters come out there's always an event, and every fighter comes out with a different theme song that we know. It's not generically or made. It's a song that we heard before. What's the difference? I'm asking. I don't know the answer. I'm asking.
I don't know the answer either. That's why
the only thing I argue on that one is the UFC event. The UFC events don't come around as often as the WWE events. Is that fair?
No, they have one every week.
They have one every week, like the fight nights. They have the fight nights, and
it's not the same fighters. You're not gonna have like in the UFC. Here's the difference where maybe this is where TKO loses his touch. In the UFC, you're not gonna have. I'm gonna use a fighter as an example. Israel Adesanya isn't gonna come out every Saturday night to fight in the octagon. It's going to be different fighters. They're gonna have different theme musics. Where in the WWE, Cody Rhodes is gonna be every Monday night or on Friday nights. I'm gonna use a bad example. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's the differential as we're trying to.
It's like with Punk, what he has a Living Color come out sometimes. I'm pretty sure that's a hefty paycheck.
I think Living Color lets him. He has the thing with Living Color that he can use that shit wherever he wants. Whatever he wants to do, he can play Living Color, that song wherever he wants. I think him and Punk, because the lead singer has said it in an interview. CM Punk can use that song wherever he wants. I think they have a really, really good relationship. But I do think it's like that because I think about it. I don't like to jump to the reason why I brought that up is because I know in AEW, right? Like when they brought the final countdown with Danielson or let the bodies to the floor, like they're not playing that all the time because it's a pretty pricey fee every time that's played. I wonder if that's kind of the same thing here.
Possible, yeah.
It's possible. But then if you're an up and coming artist and right now where the position with WWE is, what do you want your song to be?
Of course. One of my favorite bands just announced that they're debuting their new song during the Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton promo tonight for their new album coming up in May. So, they're getting artists. I just saw that right before we went on there. One of my favorite bands are called Black Velvet Brides. They'll do their song during that Cody Rhodes thing tonight. So they're trying. They're doing that. They are getting with the theme songs. Nickelback, they switched it up a little bit.
Yeah.
They did get the week. So they do that for they do that when they want, basically. I feel like they can do it anytime they want. It's just like, how can we say, I do think it's how can we, save a little bit. That could be a reason.
Or maybe they don't want people to get desensitized to when they have the big artists to promote the show. Like they want you to buy tickets for that show. They want you to pay the show, and if they put a big artist to that theme song to that show, now it's about that. The Weeknd is singing WrestleMania for WrestleMania, but if the Weeknd sings a song for Tozawa, you're not really gonna be excited about the Weeknd because he's singing a song for Tozawa. No disrespect. I think maybe that's the way they see it. We could call it for bullshit. It's a bad example, but that's what these corporate suits might think. No, we rather have the big name for the big show. The big program, let him sing that one. I need Bad Bunny for Backlash in Puerto Rico. That's the theme song. Chambea is going to be the theme song for that show. Not for Damian Priest walking down the aisle. I don't need him coming down to any Bunny music. I don't know. Maybe that's the way they see going. I hate that. I don't like it. But
WrestleMania 39, they had Little Uzi, that Little Uzi dude come out for the Usos, and then they had Lil Wayne for WrestleMania 40. Mm-hmm. So. It depends. It all depends because they could do it if they really want.
And you know what? I have this question. I don't know the answer. Maybe we could Google it. I wonder who is the chief ambassador brand currently now, because that was Titus O'Neil's, and they were cool. They were hip, and I don't know if Titus O'Neil still has that role. I think I feel like whoever's in charge. I don't know. It's not feeling the WWE product hasn't felt so cool or hip.
I think wrestling right now needs less wrestling people in their big wig positions.
They need more. They need more or less.
No, less. They need you can have a few in bigger positions like Triple H is right now, but they shouldn't be over so much of it, because I believe a lot of jealousy and pettiness is in these positions, and they really don't know how to get a product out there like they should. Like they're wrestlers for sure, but are they TV people? Do they know how to make entertainment? Like they could be consultants. They shouldn't be the head people in these positions. That's just my opinion.
So Titus O'Neil still is the global ambassador, but as of December 2025, the new top WWE ambassador is none other than John Cena. So he's
really.
It says here as of December, and this is
I believe you. I believe
Sports
you.
Illustrated. As of December 2025, John Cena is the top WWE ambassador, having signed a 5-year contract to act as the brand's ambassador and mentor following his retirement from in-ring competition.
But he just took over the position.
Right. So we'll see. But hey, Cena.
I think he's a figurehead. I think other people are running that. I think Cena's just of it.
Right. Titus O'Neil is probably the one running it, but if they had like a big event and they need I need somebody he's probably what I'm thinking would top, because he's the biggest name. So him being an ambassador, he's already gonna be their top ambassador. But I do think Titus is probably the one still doing most of it, because he's their global ambassador. He's there every time they go to a PLE. I'm pretty sure he's one of the people that runs like the charity work where wrestlers go out and do stuff like that. So maybe he has a lot on his plate too when it comes to that.
But I hope the team works well. When Stephanie and Titus O'Neil was a 1-2 punch, that's when the WWE was so popular and going. Whatever that dynamic, I hope that John Cena and Titus O'Neil could bring that same dynamic as global ambassadors to the WWE on there. Because one thing I heard when mentioned by one of Stephanie and Triple H's daughter, just something normal, the dancing in the kitchen and singing, that's hip. She's Stephanie gets it, and that's where WWE was popular. Where it was transcending, it was getting that. Oh man, it's cool. Like The Rock said, it's cool to be watching a wrestling fan. We need to get that. We need that.
Think about the demographic that they struggle in the most: 18 to 30. These people, I know Chris is a big diehard wrestling fan, but most people in Chris's age group are not watching wrestling anymore. They're not. We need to get them back to watching wrestling, because they're the ones that spend the most money. It's 18 to 30, and then you got your 35 to 50. That's who has the most disposable income to go spend money on these products, especially for their kids. So we need to get their viewership back. And the problem is you got all these older gentlemen that are running these positions, and that's the problem. They're not listening to anyone else, and that's why they're not hip. That's why when they see guys like Trick Williams get over, they're like, oh my God, this is great. Or they see Jey Uso get over with the yeet. Who's doing it? The younger people are doing it because they want to have fun. These older men are not, they're not fun. They're laughing at the product and they're like, oh man, look at that. I enjoy that. You're the only one enjoying it, dude. You're the only one doing it. So they need to do more outreach to get that demo. They get that demo up. Like, because that's who's on TikTok. That's who's doing the shorts. So yeah, get that going. You'll have a better product. So that's what they struggle with.
Hopefully they can turn it around. Hopefully starting tonight, WrestleMania, we'll see Chris.
WrestleMania tonight? My bad. I thought you were going. Yeah, my bad. I misheard you. Well, WrestleMania tonight. Yeah, we got WrestleMania tonight. Yeah, with the theme music though, I think that's what we were still finishing up here. I'll get my final thoughts on that. Again, like Hall said, I don't know how many kids my age are watching wrestling. I don't see. My thing is that when they see Unreal, I do see some people. Maybe they're not like the wrestling minds, but I see a guy. I'm like, he doesn't look old or young. I don't know if if they don't want to bring that into their product. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I agree with Hoss. They got to start some way. Like a Ricky Sosa is the best way I could find with the theme song now in wrestling getting over. The one of the admins for one of the MLB teams, I think it was the Phillies, were like Bang Bang Sosa's or the Cubs. One of the kids players, his last name Sosa, and they did like, and the kids who's like, you're thinking who's Ricky Sosa and on the national level. So they got to get that back. And I think Punk's the only one right now that has that with this theme being a legit theme. Seth with the Burn It Down, Cody. So it's a lost start in WWE. Hopefully they can bring it back.
It's a lost start, but Trick Williams is one of those guys that when you hear that whoop that trick, you like it.
And him being paired with Lil Yachty, that's why yesterday I was like, I'm not that mad about it, because if Lil Yachty does a Trick Williams theme, they fit well together. I wouldn't mind that. It gives Trick some personality too, more personality, I should say, because I feel like you would probably know this more than me, but I feel like in NXT, Sean lets these kids really, who do you want to bring? That's why Sexy Red's there. I want to bring Sexy Red. I want to bring this. Okay, Sean, Sean's with the hipper people. They need somebody like a Sean. Maybe that's why people think Sean should be up there, Kev and Hoss, because he's with the hipper people down. He's making the TikToks with the Mariah Mays or the Blake Monroes, excuse me. Like he's around those age groups. I wonder if maybe, I know it's not going to happen. I don't think it should happen because he's doing amazing after watching that documentary, especially what he's doing. But that documentary also made me realize too that now what we're talking about, Sean could be an answer.
Think about that goes hand in hand with what I was saying. Shawn Michaels is being kept young because that's who he's dealing with. He's dealing with the young talent. He's hands-on with the 20 to 30-year-old demographic every day. Triple H is very detached from the roster. And then the ones he do speak with, who's he speaking with? Roman, Punk, Cody, Randy Orton. All these guys are in their 40s and older. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm being ageist. It's just when business, you have to touch every demographic to be a profitable business. So Shawn Michaels, we can say we could bring him up, but he'll have that same problem because he won't be in NXT anymore. So he'll be detached from the younger generation.
Right.
It's all about brand outreach. So when you talk about Lil Yachty and Trick Williams, that's a brand outreach tool to get more black people to watch wrestling. That's when I see it. So we all know Triple H got the accusations of Triple H possibly being racist. That was a thing. So now you're seeing him pushing the Obafemis and the Trick Williams and Javon Evans. So that's or Lash Legend. That's going out the window. They're doing brand engagement for different diversity groups now. So that's a good way. I mean, my bad, a good direction to go. So they may be on the up with that. So that's all I got to say about that one.
Yeah, I agree.
No, but when you say about Shawn Michaels staying younger, if you look at the documentary, I always give Adriana her flowers. Her head, one of the writers for NXT, she keeps them young, look. She's one of the writers and says this is what's going on in the world, with society, whatever the case is, because she's in tune. She's a young lady. Shawn Michaels always likes to listen. Finley, that dynamic. It's a collaborative effort. That's why a lot of people get mad. And it's not about ageism, but why is Pritchard still in the year of Triple H when he's out of touch? Michael Hayes. I know they know how to do it great. They know more wrestling in their freaking pinky than anyone in the IWC. Period. We get it. We know their accolades. They could be again consulted, but you still need that young person to get in their ear and get into the creative ear and say, hey, I think so-and-so, and they don't have that. Young writers that, they don't have that right now. And that's why sometimes the storylines and the product is lacking a little bit of a vision because they don't have that. They're still stuck with a little bit of antiquated ways, and it's just a wrong one.
That's what happens when guys get set. I mean, this is just human nature. As people age, they get set in their ways. That doesn't just happen in business. That happens with everyone. So we got
Yeah.
Triple H is set in his ways. He's in his 50s. Bruce Pritchard is in his 60s. He's set in his ways. Michael Hayes, he called hell for saying about Chelsea Green. That's how he views wrestlers. He's like, you're an enhancement talent. You may get over, but we can't push you like that. He's wrong in that aspect because Chelsea Green is organically over. She's entertaining, one of the most entertaining women on the roster. But yes, those are the things that hold wrestling back. They're not going up here saying, "Hey, what sounds good today?" They're not going talking to their kids or their grandkids to see what streamers do you like. I'm surprised that they know who I Show Speed is, and that might be because of Logan Paul. That might be the only reason they know who that guy is. So them going to they're doing outreach with the streamers and the younger celebrities. It's on the upswing, but we got to be patient with it because we still have these old, like you say, older, antiquated minds running this business.
Here's a statement I'm saying, because I see Aaron says Triple H don't do TikTok, what Shawn Michaels does. Triple H was hip because he was listening to his daughters. Stephanie was listening to their daughters, with the different things. To me, why Triple H ain't doing all this stuff, and I said this, and I'm going to say this publicly, I think Triple H is setting himself up to run for a public office, to be a servant of the public. I think he will be leaving creative some soon, and he's going to politics. I just got a funny feeling. It seems like that's what's going to happen. He says, enough with this shit. I'm going to go run for public office and do something for Connecticut or state senate, whatever, or some member of the cabinet in 2028. And he's just going to be done. I could see that. I could see he's going to move into a political, and to see him doing TikToks and stuff like that, it's not going to help him in his political career that he's trying to gear up for. I personally think that's where they're going. That's just me.
I could see it, especially if, if we talked about for a long time, if like TKO with all these people run him out, quote unquote, and they want to bring that Brian Gewirtz guy that The Rock's cool with. Yeah, I see it. I think a lot of people think Triple H is going to be gone by the end of this year. So if that does happen, yeah, he can get ready for the 2028 campaign. He's already involved with the administration now as something in their fitness department. So it's a no-brainer. It's like one of those things where the athletes retiring and then they're going to go to do sports media. It's the same thing here. We saw it with Kane.
I'll say this: the biggest thing we need to be worried about is with Triple H's lifespan with the WWE is when Nick Khan starts talking about expanding the brand. You know how he had the conversation where he said we're only down a single-digit percentage, so we're not thinking about it. When his conversation goes from that to say, hey, we need to expand our numbers viewership-wise 5%, 10%. When those conversations start to happen, that's when Triple H is going to be out the door because they're actually getting to that point because I know they hear it. Like, okay, how come we only getting 2.5 million people on Netflix globally? Why are we only getting that number? We got 6 when we first started. Now we're getting less than half that. They got to start thinking about that because I know Netflix is going to put that pressure on them. And that's going to go back with the title, which I think is going to happen tonight and tomorrow, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, we'll see where that heads there. For that, of course, tonight we'll be on the Rumble app, not on the YouTube. Rumble and Kick, you'll be able to view WrestleMania with us. So we're gonna do the watch along. Unlike the other, no disrespect, no shade, no. You watch along the way you like to watch along if you have your favorites. But you're gonna see the people just staring at a screen. You could actually see the progress on Rumble app and on Kick app. So come watch out WrestleMania with us. We'll be there. It's the same thing, Sports Jedi Network on the Rumble app. You'll see us there on Kick, Sports Jedi Network, all through there. You'll be able to watch along with us and view. I know that people complain about the cost of ESPN or Netflix International with the blah, blah, blah. You'll be able to watch it with us. Or we ask you to join us and participate in the chat and see the program going on. So we can't wait for it. Tonight we'll have that, and then tomorrow night, of course, and we do all watch-alongs there. So, and of course, we invite you on here for our show tonight. So we want to thank everyone on that aspect. But I want to talk about All Elite Wrestling. They did a move on Wednesday, and by the way, if you have not checked the recap reviews here on this channel on the Sports Jedi Network with PGH, Chris, and Haas, immediately after Dynamite, they go live on the air, they recap it, they tell you their honest opinion without any 24 hours thinking or just changing their mind. Is raw, unfiltered, right to the dissection as soon as their eyes and their brains process it. I appreciate it. Chris, I wanted to talk about the Darby Allin title change. You guys mentioned your stuff. I never got the opportunity to give my way in because I wanted to give it my raw moment when I saw that. I don't like our Darby Allin. I'll tell you that. I think I still think he's a pendejo. When I mean a pendejo, an idiot, because you had the world in the palm of your hand last year for All In, the biggest show in North America, where you would have been stratified legendary if you would have taken that title off of John Moxley. And hey, one thing I got to say, Darby Allin, he did it his way. He went to climb the Mount Everest. Kind of felt selfishly. Even maybe him wanting the world title now could be selfish if we want to say that. But I'm happy that he is a world champion. In their 7-year history in the company, he's going to be one of those names as world champion material. You cannot take that away from them. No matter how long, maybe this company might not even last 10 years. But he's going to be one of their champions. Here's the one thing is, do you really want to be next to Samoa Joe, Swerve Strickland, even Hangman Page as transition? That's the question I ask. Do you really want to hurt the momentum of the company where Maxwell Jacob Freeman, this is the main reason why people really want to tune in back to AEW, give an opportunity and want to watch it. And do you really want to take that momentum for a couple and the slings and arrows? Because wrestling fans are going to throw slings and arrows even if you do it right or wrong. Oh, they're just taking cheap heat away from the WWE for WrestleMania weekend, or their hot shot booking. I got to give credit, and I agree with Bully Ray. That take balls from Tony Khan to do that. But did you do the ball? Did you have balls for the right reason, or because you want it, or for the wrong reason? Only time will tell. Personally, good for Darby Allin because what he has gone through. Especially one thing that changed my mind a little bit before I went live, watching all those old timers and all those Hall of Famers come out, and and seeing them and seeing their careers end up and where I'm at in life, my age and stuff. I'm like, damn, you know what? If he's never going to be champion, when? So I kind of felt, as a personal aspect, I feel bad for Darby, and I felt happy for him that he's a champion. But business-wise sense, it was the most stupidest move they ever made.
Yeah. I wasn't happy about it on Wednesday. Not angrily about it. But I don't understand why you couldn't just build the match for Double or Nothing. I understand that, you want the match right away on a Wednesday night in his hometown, give him the moment. I think the moment was better that he was in his hometown. The crowd loved it. Sting was out there. The moment of him winning isn't, again, what has me questioning it. It's what are they going to follow up with? Now we know that he's going to go one-on-one with Tommaso Ciampa. I hope is sure we see MJF. We have to see MJF. At this point, they have to go into Double or Nothing in Queens, and MJF has to go out of there. And we kind of know what's his next big match, right? So at this point, I'm going to really give it until this Wednesday of him going against Ciampa, maybe another one. I want to see him and MJF, in the ring again. MJF come out there, rematch, whatever it was. Again, this should have happened 9 months ago. That's why I'm not as excited. It should have been. I know I'm going to get he wanted to climb Mount Everest. That's something nobody's ever done. I understand that. Takes a lot of balls and respect for him for even attempting to do that. But he did it at the time in his wrestling career where everyone wanted him to be the next face of the company. I truly believe instead of Hangman versus MJF at Revolution, which was a good build and a good match, I thought that should have been Darby and MJF. But I don't know what they're gonna go from here. I know he's gonna be a transitional champion. He's losing the title at Double or Nothing. My question is again, how did they follow up? Because I didn't want him to go have a match against Tommaso Ciampa. I would have liked to see him cut a promo as a champion. Open mic, start the show off. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to see Darby versus Swerve. I don't want to see Darby and Ospreay. It's tough. It is a tough business decision. As a fan, I like it, but if I'm thinking of the overall business on what's going to follow up, Haas, Kev, I truly don't understand it. Why now?
And I want to add this, Haas. I know. Give me a quick second. I know. I don't want to step over on this way.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna tell you right now. Don't expect MJF and Will Ospreay to main event for All In. It's Ospreay and Omega. If you saw the backstage when they were both getting medically attended, that's your main event for All In. Don't everyone that think it's MJF. Nah, it's gonna be Ospreay, Omega at Wembley for AEW title, Haas.
Okay, well, freshly off the bout, I was upset, and I was going to tell you I'm an MJF fan, so I didn't like the title change. I've read where people were trying to connect the dots with Darby's story of 2026. I'm going to be honest with you. I have not cared about Darby Allin at all this year. I hated the Dogs feud. I'm not a fan of Gabe Kidd. They bore me to all ends. So I can say I'll probably, during Darby Allin's segments, I ignored them or just waited for the next segment to come along. So I'll leave it at that. But when it comes to Tony Khan and the booking, I know he said in a statement not too long ago that he's going to follow his instincts and his gut. That's a nice quote to say for inspirational purposes. But, sir, you are running a business and you're trying to get new fans to watch this. You had 1 million plus fans when Punk was in the building, and you haven't touched it since the brawl out footage. That is a problem. And he doesn't see that as a problem. And that is why the business is just floating where it is. He has a problem building stars. And like you said, you didn't want to see Darby and Swerve. Well, you're going to get these rematches, Chris. You're going to get them. You're going to get a bunch of rematches because we're not building stars. And that's the biggest problem with All Elite Wrestling. And I like the product. I like the way they lay their shit in when they're wrestling. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate a nice Texas death match here or there. But if you want people to watch wrestling, the mind, people will have to want to be your world champion. Who wants to be Darby Allin? Be honest about it. Do you want to look like Darby Allin? Do you want to act like Darby Allin? The only thing you want to do like Darby Allin is to have the ability to climb a mountain. Other than that, you don't want to be Darby Allin. Nothing about that appeals to you. And that's what in wrestling is an aesthetics business. You don't have to be the biggest. You don't have to be the most athletic. We need to present a product that's like, hey, I want to be that guy. Or, hey, I want to be that girl. The champions that we have, and I like Tekla too. I don't know many women that want to be Tekla. And that's a problem. So we have a problem building stars. So Darby Allin being a transitional champion, I hope he's not transitional. We've made the move. Let him have it for months now. This man is a pillar of the company. If we're going to go that route and just say, hey, we're going to build around Darby Allin, MJF, Jack Perry, and Sammy Guevara, well, let's go with it. I mean, we got to stomach it. We got to do it because if you don't build up Darby Allin, who can I trust for you to build? Because you love that man. If you put your most precious belt on Darby Allin, don't do nothing with it, how am I going to trust you going into All In this year or going into Revolution next year? That's my challenge to Tony Khan. Make me care about the stars that you love in your toy box. Let me find a way to love them because I'm trying. I'm really trying. So I have to pay attention to Darby Allin more now, and I will. So I said I'm gonna give it 2 weeks. I'm gonna give it 2 weeks and just see how it goes.
And I like the fact, and by the way, there's a lot of women that want to be like Tekla. But when they turn the lights on after the club and they all look like Tekla. Let me go right to this.
Crazy, man.
Let me go into this. I love that MJF himself debunked this fucking tweet where, he's going to go do a movie. That's where he dropped the title. He goes, no, I'm not. If he was going to do a movie, drop the title, he would have done it to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, we know he has the illness that the death, whatever. I'm not totally twisted. And if they would have dropped it, people would have been excited, or at least excited for Kenny Omega to be the world champion, the bout machine, the golden lover, the golden arches. It would have been a nice feel moment. Like you said, we got to give Darby Allin some time as world champion. Where they go with it. He's got a match with Tommaso Ciampa. Let's see where it goes. Don't honky tonk, man, Ricky Steamboat it now, where, Darby Allin loses his first match to the one and only Ciampa, but I don't think so. Where does he go there? There's going to be a lot of people that he's going to wrestle Darby, want to take a shot at Darby. Maybe you get Andrade on one of these versus Darby Allin again. If they duplicate that match that they had at the pay-per-view on a Wednesday night for the world title with some stakes, they're gonna keep the 700,000 viewers as Darby Allin as champion. They've got a lot of things on the table, but let me ask this: if you're a casual that's not a wrestling fan and you see Darby Allin go up against a bigger wrestler and he's the champion, are you really gonna believe that he beat him?
You're not.
You're not.
And I go with Aaron asked a good question here. He says, why do I say AEW doesn't build new stars? I'll tell you why. If you can go ask a person who doesn't watch WWE about certain guys, and they know who they are. They know who CM Punk is. They know who Roman Reigns is. They know who Cody Rhodes is. No one, and I'm going to say this here, the only person you may know from AEW, a random person that doesn't watch wrestling, may be MJF, because he's in movies. Other than that, no one can rattle off any of these people from AEW. No one knows Hangman Page. No one knows Swerve Strickland. No one knows Samoa Joe. He wears a mask on Twisted Metal. No one knows him. That's where I'm getting at. No one knows Mercedes Moné. That's the saddest, and she's been in Star Wars. They don't know her name. They just know, that's the woman that was on Endor or whatever planet they were on. They don't know these people.
And I've been saying that since day one. If I can follow up on that.
Go ahead.
I know about that I've been saying that since day one. MJF is their only star.
Yes.
And we could debate about that. Like, what leading roles has MJF been in? Just don't come on. Just the Happy Gilmore too. I haven't even watched that movie.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. It was actually a good movie. I'll give you.
Yeah,
it's funny.
I don't know. Yeah,
go watch it. It's funny.
I'm surprised you haven't watched that. I feel like everybody's watched that.
Yeah,
but was he the lead role?
No,
he was the main brother.
Yeah, he's one of the sons of Adam.
He's the
Sandler.
main son of Adam Sandler.
Yeah, he had enough time on there where that's him. So,
okay.
Yeah, but
it wasn't like Becky Lynch. You couldn't even fucking tell it was her.
Again, I never put Becky Lynch. So this is the problem. We get the whataboutism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about.
I mean,
talking about MJ.
We've been doing this with AEW all the time. AEW does this. It can't be a one-way streak.
Right. It's not to punch down on AEW. It's just a fact. We need more people to know who these people are. Those are stars.
Exactly.
Like when Roman Reigns gets on First Take and say he's the only superstar left in WWE, I mean, it's a great argument. Because truth be told, I can go ask my neighbor who Randy Orton is. They don't know.
Exactly.
They know but they've seen Roman Reigns. They've seen him. They'd be like, oh, is that Jason Momoa? I'm like, oh, no, that's the other guy. At least they know who he is. That's the problem. And the thing about it, wrestling fans like to gatekeep the product so much. That's the problem.
The younger ones.
Yes, we have to expand the base. Wrestling used to be mainstream where they used to go against Monday Night Football. Like people would actually turn off Monday Night Football to watch Monday Night Raw or to watch Nitro. These people are actually making these decisions. You go ask a football fan that today, they're laughing you out of the building. No one's thinking about watching wrestling. So we can't gatekeep it. We have to make it more appealing to casual fans so they become lifelong fans. The kids, as a child, you used to be a casual fan because you had no idea what wrestling was. You grew to love it. Now we have to get back to that. Grown people some of them have the minds of children. So you have to sit up there and get them to come watch this product so they can enjoy it. It's all about the casuals. Because guess what? As a wrestling fan, if you up here watching 6+ hours of wrestling a week, you are invested. You are going to be here. You're not going anywhere. They're not targeting you because you hate it, you love it, you're going to be here. They want the guy down the street who's never watched wrestling a day in their life and be like, hey, that's entertaining. I'm going to tell my friends about it. Because guess what? The common wrestling fan, they can't go tell their non-wrestling fans about this because they don't care. They don't care. So we got to stop gatekeeping and make this a bigger thing. And that goes for AEW. They go for WWE. They go for TNA as well. That's how you expand.
Is it fair to say that they want to give us a mosquito effect? What I mean a mosquito effect, when you get bit by a mosquito, it burns you, it itches, whatever, and you're there scratching because it started itching. And then what happens after about 10 minutes, you stop itching. You forget about it. I think that's what they're trying to do with these. They're trying to give the people, the casuals, the people that don't watch, that mosquito effect. They want you to get bit by the mosquito, the fever. When some people they learn golf. They play golf for the very first time. They're enthralled, enamored with the golf. They want to buy every bit of clubs. It happened to me with fishing, many years ago. Look, now you're behind me. I got a shitload of poles, trying to buy the most poles, the lines. I think it's that kind of effect they want to give the casual. But now when you're invested and you're doing fishing over and over, you end up getting your fishing poles collect dust, like right now, what I'm doing right now. So I think that's what they're trying to do with professional wrestling.
And here's another question from Aaron. He says, remember, AEW targets the hardcore wrestling fans. Well, you're going to get diminished returns with hardcore wrestling fans because they're not reproducing more wrestling fans. That's the problem. We have to grow. Like we can't. I say this: Tony Khan has the luxury of his business not growing because he's going to be forever rich. Anyone else? Go ask Vince McMahon back when WrestleMania 1, 2, when he put all his eggs in that one basket for WrestleMania. If it didn't work, he was going to go broke. See, that's how most businesses run. Most people do not have the luxury to run a business as long as they want to and not see major profit. So Tony Khan is an anomaly in this. So he can say he wants to appeal to a hardcore base. It's not enough of the base to keep it going. And you know who's going to actually question him on that? The next time he has to come up with TV rights. They're like, sir, you gotta be able to average 800,000 people a week. We're not going to re-sign you if you can't keep that number. And he has to come up here and say, you're right, Charles Schwab or whoever runs this place. I need to get my numbers up, and I'm going to work on that. So when it comes to you can't just appeal to one type of person in business. Money comes from everybody. So you got to go get everybody's money. So we got to stop giving AEW that type of credit saying they only appeal to a certain niche or base, because that shows you that they only care about that, and you can't grow like that. You got to be able to touch everybody. Pause.
You agree. I know you're good. You're good. Chris, I want to ask this with you question, Chris. I know you don't like it, and I'm with you to a degree. Seeing them on First Take, where it's a sports show, seeing them all over the place, wouldn't that benefit TNA as well as AEW if they have their talents doing First Take and doing the same exact media rounds on those television?
Yeah, it makes sense now. I think I'm a little more open to it because of the partnership that WWE and ESPN have. So it makes sense, right? We see with the NFL, MLB, they have the rights, so obviously they're going to cover the product. I'm a little more open to that now. But no, I agree. And I agree with you that we could debate about the MJF, but I think, he does a lot of media tours on big platforms. So if he were to go on like an ESPN, I think people would maybe recognize the guy, but that could be a thing and same thing for TNA. And I think TNA has obviously the Hardys and Nick Nemeth, even Santana now as their champion, who I think has, not saying he was the hottest thing in TNA since his return, but since him chasing the titles and going through what he's going through, now being the champion, you could now put him in that conversation. So I think so. I think it would. any exposure is, I don't, any exposure is good exposure. You could say that, yes, but it's a no-brainer. I know I don't like it, but it really is a no-brainer. I don't like it because of the way the analysts talk about wrestling, by the way. It has nothing to do with the wrestlers appearing. It's when Stephen A asks a question, and like, I love Stephen A, but the guy knows nothing about wrestling. Like, I'm tolerating it a little bit more because of Testator and all that, but that's why I don't like it. It's because they need wrestling analysts for the sports show and all that. But my point is, to get them on the platform, yes, it could benefit a TNA and AEW guys, especially the top ones that people would recognize.
I'll say this. Go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
No. Go.
Okay, when it comes to talking about wrestling on ESPN and everything, like you say, it's not. And I know we talked about this before.
Right.
This is my opinion. It's not a sport. That's my opinion. People will disagree, but it's not a sport. That's my opinion. A lot of these guys, Stephen A, Ryan Clark, I'm pretty sure they share my view on this. They're not going to be like that. We're not talking about a real sport. So they need to talk. They need to have more theater people, more movie people, or TV people to actually come.
Stephen A comes in.
Yes, because these guys, they don't see it as that way. So it's kind of a disingenuous conversation that they're having. It's all about a promotional tour. And me, you, and the other wrestling people know that already. So it's kind of a rough conversation to watch. And I want to go pivot to what Richard was talking about here. He said, we will see what happens with American Gladiators and to see will people check out AEW because of Camille Wardlow. The thing about that is Tony Khan is not going to have them on TV enough for them to come over. Like, oh, I saw that big woman on American Gladiators. Let me go see her wrestle. Oh, she ain't wrestled in 3 weeks now because she wrestled Willow and lost. Now you may not see her for a month. Wardlow is coming off an injury, I've heard. When he does come off the injury, will you see him? No, he's too big for Tony Khan's liking. And we're not even talking about star-wise, even though he's probably going to have more eyes on him than Darby Allin will have on AEW, but that's a whole different conversation. But if Tony Khan does this correctly, I believe he will try to pivot to Prime Video, which he should. As a business mind, he should. But will he play it that way? No. I want to play with my favorite toys, and that's the problem.
I hope so, because when me and Kev, we talked about this too. Where they could go when they announced the Warner Brothers and Netflix stuff, and we talked about that. They already do have the pay-per-views on Prime. That's like and Max, you can watch it, but I watch it on Prime when I actually do pay the full price. So I'm hoping that this could get them. But again, we talked about this Wednesday, Hoss. This is going to be a one-off for Camille. We're not going to see her for another few weeks, which sucks. I know Wardlow said recently in an interview, Aaron, that he's ready. He wants to wrestle. He misses being in the ring. It's been 2 years. I don't think they're going to. I agree with Hoss. They're not going to do it. Tony's not going to do it.
And then think about it like this as well. If we do, let's just say I do view this as a sport. I'm gonna take my mind out of it. I view this as a sport now. The people that I think should be winning are not winning. Okay, if I say okay, let's bring Wardlow back. We're gonna have Wardlow lose to Bandito.
Yeah,
you can't make it make sense. You can't make that make sense. Like, okay, we're gonna have Bobby Lashley lose to Darby Allin. Oh, it's a sport. No, I can't get that out of my head. Because if I see this as a sport, how you going to tell me that this 150-pound man is beating this almost 300-pound man made of full muscle in a physical sport where they're throwing bodies through tables and chairs, barbed wire, and fluorescent light bulbs? You're telling me that Darby Allin is the champion of this sport? You can't sell that to me. You cannot. It's the same thing. Like, we can go with WrestleMania here. How you gonna sell me that Cody Rhodes is better than Randy Orton at this sport? How? Just make it how? And you'd be like, oh yeah, the smaller man, he gets over sometime. Yeah, but that's an anomaly. You built up Cody Rhodes to be this universal threat. He's better than Roman Reigns. He's better than Randy Orton in this sport. How am I supposed to legitimize your sport like this? How? That's my difficulty seeing it as a sport, because some things that just physically don't make sense. like Rey Mysterio beating Brock Lesnar. Huh? And I don't want people coming at me like I'm just throwing luchadors out there. No, I'm just giving you the physical aesthetic here. I mean, we're gonna say this is a sport.
If this is a sport, they'd be weight classes.
Exactly.
That's all. There's no.
You took the words. You took the words out of my mouth. And also, if this was a sport, Tony Khan. Let me say something. Tony Khan had a fight. How long they've been on TNT? 6 years. TBS TNT.
Yeah, 7 years, 6 years. Yeah.
If it was really building a star, even Jericho. If you tell me Jericho would have been on the set of inside the NBA presenting those titles, or sitting inside the NBA,
I agree.
They didn't do it.
I agree. They messed up with their marketing. Yeah, I know. I agree. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think.
I was waiting for you guys to talk.
Like that.
You know.
No, I didn't even think. But I'm talking about in the 7, because they're no longer with TBS anymore. So no. I'm thinking in this 7 years, I don't know why I never heard anyone think about that. I like that. They could have had Jericho when he was the first champion go out there and present the title, whatever. They could have had the championship right there. I know AEW has that like partnership with the Big 12 now, so where it's like. It kind of how the WWE does it with the conference, like they get the championship belt. AEW now has that, so hope maybe, but I agree with you, Kev. They should have done that a long time ago.
They could have went there, Jericho,
especially when they had Shaq doing AEW appearances.
Hello, and they could still do it. You didn't tell me with Chris Jericho again. There's benefit of Jericho finishing out his remaining AEW contract. Have him go there for the NHL hockey playoffs are there. This guy his father played for the New York Rangers. Yeah. Why does he come out and promote AEW? But no, but the TNA did it last year's Slammiversary with the NHL. They did it too. They have an opportunity there, and that's how much. If they're such a real sport, they should be endeavoring themselves to a sport. And they should be putting their talents across sports platform, not just wait for. And now here's the thing that sucks. If they do it now, they're just copycatting WWE because they're on ESPN. No, they had the opportunity to do it first, but you could show you where the mindset of the owner is. He doesn't care. He just wants to put on the great matches. The only person he cares about is Dave Meltzer and his star rating.
And Dave Meltzer
get so annoyed when I get so annoyed by AEW fans. Because but we're getting 5-star matches every week. That's the one thing
guy
that I get very upset about, because I might be the only real AEW like fan that thinks the 5-star ratings are bullshit. So if I told you right now, Kev, I know it didn't happen yet. CM Punk and Roman Reigns is the worst match in WrestleMania history. Because I said that, you all are going to, and all hundreds of people are going to run with that. Oh, that's the new standard. No, my opinion doesn't mean shit to most of you, and neither does Dave Meltzer's to us. It's one person's opinion, and I'm tired of the AEW fans using the 5-star matches as an excuse or as a reference to why, they think shit is all peaches and cream. That,
what the problem with that, Chris? You know what the problem is? That voice is amplified by...
and you know what, Kev? They're not gonna. It won't go away. It won't go away.
And it's like when we were accused earlier.
I'm very happy I never fed into the Dave Meltzer shit, because there's I see why people do, because you could think he's credible. He obviously is incited with Tony and all that. So people probably take his information. People strongly believe that this guy knows everything about what's going on, so they run with it. I don't.
How many stuff we were told in our own interviews? Okay, wait. I go back to Carlos Silva when he came on our platform, the first ever fan made or fan powered podcast. He did his first interview was with us. He didn't fan from a fans, and he told us about the UBS. He told us about the financials, going for a new TV deal. But. And we were the first ones. I think that was around 11, 12 o'clock when we had Carlos Silva on.
11 July 10th at 11.
Right. But then he went on. Then a couple hours later, he goes to Sean Raw Saps and says the same thing. But Sean Ross Sapp gets the he said it on Sean Ross Sapp. I'm not here saying he said it first on my show, like some other idiots on the IWC that they say, where did you get your credit sources? He told us first, but we're not here saying we said it first. That's the problem. Certain people have their voices amplified more, and they think that's gospel. They think they were the ones that had the breaking news where things were mentioned here on this channel first. And that's the problem. That's the issue that we're having.
I'll say this about the Dave Meltzer scale because I can't stand him. I believe he's been very detrimental to wrestling.
Very much.
In the whole. Because he's the reason because these matches feel like they go too long. He's the reason where people think guys like the Young Bucks are the best tag team of all time, which they're not. Because he said we got a 5-star match out of them at Dynasty. Okay. It's the same match we see all the time. And the biggest thing about it is they're not if you're giving all these 5-star ratings, how come TV ratings are not going up?
Exactly.
Why is that not happening? If you got Dave Meltzer telling me Dynamite on February 18th had 4 5-star matches and the ratings went down. That means your rating scale is BS because people are not buying what you're selling because that means there's bigger things to wrestling than the wrestling match. And a lot of people are not understanding that because I can sit up here and watch great wrestling, which I do from AEW. I say this every time we talk about it on Wednesdays and on the PLEs on the Saturday and Sundays. They default to great wrestling. I leave it at that. They default to great wrestling, but there's nothing else there. And that's the saddest part about it because people think I'm hating on AEW. I'm not. I see the potential in AEW. I see it every week. They could build some stars. They could build some real characters, but the owner doesn't care about that. And that's the problem. Like, I want this company to prosper. I don't want it to go away. If I wanted it to go away, I wouldn't watch it on Wednesdays. I wouldn't watch it on Collision sometimes, even though I don't watch it all the time, but I try. I care about the product, and I want Tony Khan to hear stuff like this because all this instinctive guts talk, your guts just like wrestling. You just like seeing people get slammed to mats, getting kicked in the face, or getting hit with a baseball bat. Wrestling is a variety TV show. You got to have all aspects here. So you got to cater to everybody, and that's the problem.
And you know what the problem is? You know what? I'm going to say what. If you're a person who's not into wrestling, right, and you want to start getting into wrestling, and you see journalists or podcasters or people fighting and name calling and calling them from every despicable, deplorable names that is written all over their social media, or going in and complaining or ridiculing that for people's thoughts or takes or who's watching views and stuff like that. Would you want to be part of that community? Would you want to start watching a product? No. Like right now, and this is the stereotype. I'm not going to watch golf. I think it's nothing but, and this is the stereotype. They're nothing but snobby people. They're nothing but snobs because if you can't afford the polo shirt and you can't put on the right shoes or the right polo, you can't play in the sport. What the hell? I don't want to. I couldn't care less about golf. I thought that's the problem. The stigmatism, the stereotypes that wrestling has gotten that nobody wants, and people want to stay away. You're telling me. Let me ask you this: up and coming superstar, that's into the entertainment and movie business, and they see the heat that Travis Scott got, Jelly Roll. I'm not going to say Pat McAfee, but another Little Bow Wow, because he got a lot of heat for the Jay Cargill. If you're someone who's hip, cool, and pop star, or do you want to associate yourself with wrestling because of the way the fans treat? Like the minute I say I love this wrestling world, I want to be part of it. I want to be. You can fuck out of here. I don't want to deal with those ungrateful fan base, ungrateful people that watch that shit. No, thank you. And that's sad.
Chris, I got a question for you real quick.
Yes.
You've been watching AEW since day one.
Day one.
What is the best story that's been told from this company?
MJF and CM Punk. I don't even got to think about it.
Okay. One of those guys is no longer with this company, and the other guy, they got him getting squashed every other month.
Right.
What's the second best story from this company you can say?
I'll throw a women's storyline in there. Mariah May and Tony was good.
Okay, all right. Do you see how much you had to think about that story? You had to just think about that very hard.
Yes.
And this is not directed towards anyone in the chat. And a lot of people say this. They say the stories are all over AEW. I'm gonna just say it like this: a lot of stories suck. They suck. Like, that's the problem. I'm not saying they don't have them. They suck. The stories suck. In WWE, the same way. Their stories have been sucking lately too, because they haven't had a story to touch the bloodline or anything lately. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll take this from Aaron right here. The Hangman Page redemption story.
Swerve and Hangman's probably 3 or something.
I went back and I wasn't there watching it live. I went back and watched parts and matches that come with it. Solid story. But look at that. We're getting one good story a year from AEW. One from a company that comes on for 52 weeks. That's not good television. And we can go to WWE with the same way. They haven't had a story hit since Cody finished his story. That's going on 2 years. Well, 3 years almost now. That's a problem. The Bloodline story went for 3 years. Like, wrestling they're not getting it right. They need to focus on better stories. If you want great matches, God bless you. People want to see good stuff play out every week because we watch the same suplexes. We're watching the same greatest hits every week because they're highlighting the same wrestlers every week. That goes with WWE. That goes with AEW. You're seeing the same hidden blades. You're seeing the same paradigm shifts, and you're seeing the same big stomps and one-winged angels. You're seeing the same stuff. So we can't just settle on matches all the time. We got to have stuff that further these matches along. And like I say, people who love the great wrestling matches, I love it for you. I want you to keep enjoying it. But the only way we can expand is we got to get these builds up. Like, we got people complaining about the WrestleMania build right now. That's the problem. Like, we think a lot of these, we got 14 matches. We probably think 10 of them gonna hit. Is that a good ratio?
That's a good ratio.
About 8 to 10 of them are going to hit. After this, will you remember any of the builds? You're gonna be like, oh, that's the problem. Like, we gotta, if you want to get wrestling right, we got to get these builds right. And that's the only way you're going to get a weekly television show and get people to care about these PLEs. And that's my biggest thing when it says about the sport and the entertainment aspect. You can see it as a sport, but you have to entertain us way more than to show the athletic feats.
And to a degree, they try to tell stories. I'm going to be honest with you. And you're not going to hear it from me because I don't like AEW. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna be here and sugarcoat it. It's not my cup of coffee. But at least they try to tell stories. I think the fan base, and I think head by the owner and Dave Meltzer, do not allow them to want to tell the proper stories or pay it off or give it the right. It might not be the greatest that you might like. It might not be the ones that you wanted or a lot. I hear this a lot. Who asked for this? No one did. But when they try to tell you the story, there's always that blowback and negativity, and the owner says, I got to pivot. Just like Paul Levesque, Mr. Pivot Levesque. Tony Khan pivots too much and doesn't really let the story play out. Look, there's parts of movies that you watch. Not the whole 2 hours of the movies is great and gets you excited and makes you want to bite your fingernails. There's parts that the movie that it drags a little bit or it's a little bit down because they're building. And I think wrestling fans, when they're trying to tell a storytelling, there's going to be parts where it dips a little bit down and then for it to rise up. That's the emotion. I don't think we're patient enough to allow it. And because we have so much voices or so many outlets to be so negative or critique it that the company says, I got to do something. And I think they overreact or knee-jerk reaction.
I just think their stories are too short. Even if what I mean by that is, again, you're giving us Darby Allin, and I'm over it at this point, but you're giving us like right away, like when Ricochet came to the company, you gave us Will Ospreay versus Ricochet that next week. I don't know. I just don't know if they want to. I think they can. I just don't think they want to, because earlier in AEW, the stories were good. I thought the Inner Circle storyline was good with Moxley and Jericho, beating them. I thought Hangman's Dark Order and Dork Order now, but Dark Order versus the Elite was a good storyline. Like it's just they can do it, but now it's let's just give you this marquee matchup, and it does suck, because I think in the beginning of AEW, you could understand, okay, I see why these guys are going at it. Okay, a lot, they're a part of this faction. A lot of the factions were starting back then. You could see it. Now it's the matches. And it sucks, but that's my main thing right now.
You know what? I want to piggyback something there, Chris.
I
want to piggyback something there. You made a great point, because when they first burst on the scene, they were the alternative, right, to WWE. They were different. They couldn't afford to go out there and storytell, because they're like, they needed to show, they needed to lead by actions, and they had to give you the great in ring. They had to give you the great ring and show you that they could where they quote the best wrestle, and they put on great shows. They failed to evolve because they got stuck. Well, I guess this is what they want. Damn it, you have to pivot or adapt to what's been working for a company that's been around for over 40 years. Storytelling. You already established a fan base. Yo, they're different and they could wrestle. Now you needed to evolve and show that you could tell these stories on how we can emphasize these damn mother trucking best wrestlers, and they failed to do it, and that's why they struggle, in my opinion.
With AEW, for me, I've been going back watching the greatest hit matches. Like I went back and watched the 60-minute Danielson MJF match. I've had more fun watching those singular matches than watching Dynamite. And I don't think that's good for AEW. Like you got people that would rather watch, the older matches than to watch the current product. And I may be alone in that aspect. I will say that I may be alone there. But me personally, I've had more fun going to watch the matches, like the dog collar match. I have more fun watching those things than watching the whole 2-3 hour programs. And I don't think that's a good thing for them.
And I even go with this one. I know you're not going to like this, Chris, but I thought the Orange Cassidy Mimosa match was funny and fun.
Who?
Orange Cassidy Mimosa's match against Chris Jericho. I thought that was a fun match.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
I mean,
I can't.
I mean, it's all right. I had to deal with Orange Cassidy getting this big story to win the international title. They try to make Orange Cassidy this big deal. Yeah, he still sucks. No, it was fine. It was fine. That might be the only time you'll hear me say Orange Cassidy. Okay, I got a little kick out of it. Everything else he does is cringy. It's cringy as shit. And I hope that's one person that doesn't win the AEW championship in the future.
Who? Pockets?
Yeah, because I know not to change the subject a little bit, but we're talking about guys that Tony likes, that's been there since day one. He might get the Darby treatment, and I swear to God, I'm done. I've given this. I love it. I've given it 7 years. I've defended it probably when I shouldn't have. But if Orange Cassidy becomes the AEW World Champion, I'm done watching the product.
I'm gonna be right with you when Jack Perry wins. I'll probably be done watching at that point.
That's another one.
I do not want to see Jungle Boy with that belt.
That's why, guys. You see how you guys are saying these wrestlers? Jack Perry, Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy. Darby Allin now. Sammy Guevara. But those guys set the foundation. They were in the trenches. This is why storytelling is important. If they tell you the story and get you invested on whatever, and they actually happen to win the title, you're like, you know what? You could stomach it. One of the thing is, who the hell? And I guarantee you guys, a lot of diehard TNA wrestlers. I know he was there in the trenches for years ago as a tag team. But if they didn't tell the proper story about the struggle, betting on himself, battling with addiction, overcoming his demon, coming back and reinventing himself, and his thing for his dad, telling him he's and the Mike Santana story, I don't think a lot of hardcore TNA people would have said him as a champion. Why they did that? Because they story told why, how important was the world championship for Mike Santana. If they do that with a Sammy Guevara or even Orange Cassidy, I think you could tolerate it. But that's why storytelling is important. That's my point.
Yeah, and I think the one person that out of all those people, the pillars and the foundation, is Darby. I think that's the only person they've even tried to even do it with. And look, I give Orange when you made a good point. Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, Sammy Guevara, Jack Perry, these guys were there from the ground up. I'm not going to take that away from Orange Cassidy. He's been there from the ground up. I don't think he's been a major involvement of AEW's quote unquote success, but he's been there, so I'll give him that prop, that that respect. But I see the same thing for Orange Cassidy right now with Darby, and I love Darby. I'm somebody that loves Darby. I don't want to see Orange Cassidy against any of the quote-unquote main event guys. I don't want to see Orange Cassidy and Swerve. I don't want to see Orange Cassidy and MJF. I don't want to see Orange Cassidy and Moxley again. I don't want to see it. Orange Cassidy, to me, just can't. He's very boring. And if there's one person in the company that cannot tell you a story, it is this clown.
but if they put him to tell the right story, I'm not saying I'm agreeing with you. I'm trying to give you the other side of the rebuttal.
I'm trying to really, because like you said, like I said, he's one of the foundations of this company. I wouldn't mind it for him to get a moment. I just, it needs to be good, and it's not with him right now.
My only thing with the pillars of this company, like the people they were going to build around, all of them are too much alike. The wrestling styles and everything, they all telling the same story in the ring. They're looking the same. The only difference in some guys is maybe Will Ospreay, Swerve. The other guys they won't push, like Bobby Lashley. Jack Perry's not a believable champion to me. Darby Allin, even though I'm going to give it a shot, Darby Allin is not a believable face of the company to me. It's just, I just can't buy it. It's hard for me to buy in. Now, if the story just goes to be great, like, oh, big underdog, he finds out all these ways to win wrestling matches. Okay, but I have to trust Tony Khan to tell me that story. And that's another thing too. So it's just hard for me to buy into the pillars of this company other than MJF. It's hard. It's very hard.
Like I said, I'm going to give it 2 weeks. I'm going to give it 2 weeks, and then we'll see.
I want to say this. You mentioned about them having an H audience, bashing. It's not, but when you out there backed by a billionaire who wants to buy everything from every wrestler that comes a free agent, doing all this thing with the money, you got to say, okay, you have all this money and this resources, you're putting it in the wrong places. You should be doing something different to make the product better. But no, you're becoming stubborn. TNA doesn't have that financial resources. Yes, they're in the 200,000 people at best to watch the product, but they're not working with a $1 billion budget. They're working with the best they can. They have to sign free agents from the independent scene. They have to find the washed up, maybe, and I'm not saying washed up, but yeah, let's say wrestlers that need their last second chance to go to TNA. They need someone who wants to go there and try to use them to catapult into a bigger contract. But you know what? They're under the Carlos Silva regime, and even Scott D'Amore, they rebranded. They rebranded. They brought another set of energy where you could say now they're a top 3 wrestling promotion, regardless if you like it or not. If you don't like what happened with the politics, that's another question. But they're trying to entertain. They're making an effort. They're not just saying, you know what, we're going to stay in little studios. We can't. You know what, we could never sell out a major MLB arena like they did with Slammiversary. They're trying. They're not staying down and saying, they're not complacent. I give them credit. They're trying to swing for the fences. They're trying to go to Chicago for lockdown and get another big arena. They're going to a big arena for Slammiversary, for Bound for Glory. They're doing their thing. They're trying to grow their product. And you know what? You got to say, damn, at least they're doing it. We see that Tony could do the product, but he takes a step back. You're here. You've got you had 1 million people. You had your 1 million people watching. You had your 70,000 people on the things. Why are you regurgitating back then? Why are you taking a step back? Why is it not staying at there? Or when they're not even, Chris, is it safe to say they're not plateauing? They're not even plateauing. They're regurgitating. They're reversing from what they were.
I don't know. I don't think this decision necessarily defines that. I mean, I think they've been interesting this year. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say they're going backwards.
With AEW, I'll say this: I believe they have a certain number where they want to just stay at, which is probably 700K. And I don't think Tony Khan focuses on hitting 1 million. I don't think he just focuses on that at all.
1 million what? Ratings wise?
Yeah,
like
just I'm not including WBD because we don't get those numbers like we should.
Right.
But like just viewership, 1 million from TV, 1 million people. I don't think he focuses on that. And for other people, it's hard to rationalize that because we want products to grow. Like things we like, we want them to grow. Like, because if you don't grow, you're dying. That's the mind. That's just how the mind works. So if you're sitting complacently, it doesn't seem like you're getting any better. So that's where the argument comes in at. And for TNA, I see Heather. She say they got the backing of the almighty WWE. WWE is not putting that big budget into TNA. They're giving the exposure, that's good. But we can't say they're getting the same money that AEW is getting from Tony Khan and the Khan family. The Khan family is putting a truckload, massive truckloads, big jet field cash loads into AEW. And that's where a lot of people, especially me, be like, our expectations are higher. You have Fort Knox behind you, and you should really be competing with WWE when it comes to ratings. I won't say stories wise because you are the alternative. I get that. I buy into that. And I will say this, your matches go harder than WWE. I will always concede that. But you have to focus on the other aspects of your show. Because I feel, and I've said this, I think AEW could pass WWE viewership wise in 5 years if they do it correctly. I believe that. But will Tony Khan go that way? I doubt it.
Look, we'll see. Like, I think this conversation with Darby as champion, I think that's why we're having the conversation, because it really is something, not, I wouldn't say unexpected, but it is. I am curious to see how the strength of AEW is moving forward. I don't think they were doing bad, not great. Their ratings have been going a little up. They had $1 million gate at Revolution. The pay-per-view was good this week, length, all that stuff. That's the same complaint I have. But other than it is a tough one. I don't think I don't agree that they could be the number one, because I think Tony's always going to be the guy that is going to have the influence until he has not a team. He doesn't have to have a team. It could, I think it was Kev that brought it up last week or something. Vince Russo had maybe one or two other people writing the shows with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, him and two other people, I think generally could change it. But until he doesn't give that trust to somebody else or whatever, I don't see how the TV storylines moving forward are going to be that interesting.
I think he needs three people. I think it works everywhere. Man, you won't even take it biblical. The number three. You need three people.
Yeah.
3 people makes it work. Because you could, everyone thinks the same, and you could listen on different point of views. Oh, I got your point of view. What did they say? There's always hers, and the truth. Whenever there's a story or an argument, his truth, her truth, and the middle, and the truth is in the middle. So I think 3. If he surrounds himself with 3 good writers or 2 good writers with himself, he can have the ultimate say. But listen to ideas, I think it helps. Again, it benefits the WWE for them to have a good product to say, oh shit, we need to step up. Because if they're not that good, or they know what they're plateauing at, or what's their end game, they're not gonna. All right, why give out the free samples if I know that what I'm giving out is going to be better than what they're gonna, what their expectations are. So it's a hand-in-hand thing. And for you to say that WWE is ripping off the TNA talent off WWE is Joe Henry, Jordan Grace. That's it. And count all the amount of talent that's gone to AEW, from the Iconics to all three members of the Rascals, to Josh Alexander, to Speedball, Kevin Knight, the guys that they're being pushed, by the way. There's a lot. There's over more than double digits of talent that's gone at AEW. And that's not going to change. And it's about making money anyway. Good for them.
I say this about WWE. They're going to be in trouble when Roman Reigns retires. They're going to be in trouble when CM Punk retires. They're going to be in trouble when Randy Orton retires, because they're having their same problem building new stars. Triple H can't do it. Paul Levesque does not know how to do it. They have the athletic ability. All these people that they're bringing up from NXT, they have it. They don't know how to properly push them, and that's the problem. And people, and I know Heather said this the other day on the watch along about the nostalgia pops. They're not going to be able to rely on those when the bigger names are gone, because when it's time to push your Oba Femis, your Trick Williams, your Braun Breakers, are they going to feel special when WrestleMania comes around? Because you're not letting them beat these guys before they get out of here. Like I was very disheartened, and I know I talked about it with Kev when Braun Breaker didn't beat Punk back in January, and he told me that Braun Breaker may have been unhealthy at that point. I'll buy that, but it's just the visual of that. Just seeing that, you need to see him go over. And wrestling fans is like this. It's here today, gone tomorrow. We have to have these guys go over now, because 2 years from now, Punk's going to be 50. He won't be wrestling. He won't. Like Roman Reigns, he still fights health conditions to this day. Randy Orton says he wants to go into his late 50s. This is a very big man. His body's going to end up failing him with these bumps eventually. I hope it goes for a while, but you get what I'm saying. They're going to be in big trouble. Big trouble.
Let me ask you this, Haas. Who do you have trust on getting a story to tell stories? And the company has been doing it for 40 years to make you build these stars up.
You say, who do I trust?
Do you trust WWE to tell stories, to build these characters up like a Braun, like this young talent? They have a core of young talent.
I don't trust either company with building new stars. I don't trust either company. I would have. Someone made they asked about this on X one day, and they say, if you could get rid of Triple H, who'd you bring in? I say I'd bring in the creative team from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. People that know how to build stories, and I'd have wrestling people with them to push the talent.
But that's what they have on the current writing teams right now. They got Hollywood writers, and the product sucks.
They're no good. They need better guys. They need to spend money on better creative teams. Like I'm not. Not a fan.
That's my problem right now. They've got too many people that are not in tune with the wrestling business. The head writers, when you see on Unreal, they have nothing to do with the wrestling business. They have to, and that's why the product is lacking in this and hurting, because they have too many people that's not part of the business. That's my problem that I have with WWE right now. And they lured Jordan Grace, and obviously, Heather, you didn't hear our interview with Carlos Silva. The TNA is a bridge for an older wrestler to either finish out his career, get the younger wrestler that bridge to more money, whether it's WWE or AEW. That's what TNA is. He pretty much says it on the interview with us. So for Mike to go over there, he's not going back to AEW. He had a bad experience. If he goes back and makes more money, I will be happy for Mike, because he has a daughter. He's from the Bronx. You know what? If he makes money to buy a house and do what I did, I moved from the Bronx, I bought a home, worked my ass off. He could get a better home as a wrestler, bigger, stronger home, go for it. That's what's there for. Jordan Grace, she's making more money. We don't like her creative, but she's making more money. That's what the point is. It's about to make more money. It's not just, poaching. They're taking Henry, Santana, maybe. Jordan Grace, great. It's fine. Let me ask you this: it's great for the Rascals to make all the money they need. Josh Alexander was the backbone of the freaking company of TNA. There was nothing else for him to do there. I'm glad he went to AEW to make more money. Make more money. He's got a kid. He's got a wife, and he has a little young son. Make that money where his son doesn't have to go to the struggles of the father. I can't get him mad with that, guys. I can't.
It's
not at all.
You got to have collaboration with it when it comes to booking wrestling nowadays. Yeah, like I get what you're saying. They have Hollywood writers. They got to have the perfect combination, and it's not meshing well. It's just not. Because I would say this: the modern wrestling bookers, like Aaron brought this up. He said wrestlers were booking back in the NWA and the old WWE days. Is it fair to say that Dusty Rhodes and Jim Crockett and JR had better imaginations than the current guys running these shows? Is it fair to say that?
Yes.
Is it fair to say a more lucid Vince McMahon had a better mind than guys today? Is it fair to say that?
Yes.
You had guys like Jim Cornette who were better entertainment minds. So I get that. So I get when Aaron says they don't understand wrestling. I don't think modern wrestling minds understand wrestling today. And that's my biggest problem. Like, we got too many people in wrestling and outside of wrestling that don't know anything about wrestling. So I will back him up on that quote. I understand.
Also, to add to that too, Haas, they're doing too many movesets. Back then, where they told a lot of great stories with and in the ring, out of the ring, because they kept the talent is because maybe the talent currently now are more uber athletic that they ever was. Than some of these wrestlers look like they could be models on a fitness magazine. Simple. They look like, holy crap, for the way they take care of their nutrition. We hear about these old time wrestlers when they were booked. It was just Jack Daniels and Percocets, and they were now these people are, they're specimens. They eat healthy. They eat certain nutrition. They eat certain things. They keep their body in top condition. So the writers want to do something with their movesets where it doesn't. And this is where I go back to the producers. Sometimes the producers got to say, slimmer it down. We don't, this match has this. We don't need this spectacular stuff. Like you said, there is a disconnect between producers, writers, corporate that is not meshing correctly. And then they react to what's happening on the outside noise for the IWC. So we have a perfect storm of disaster in the wrestling industry that, this is the problem we have right now. No, the discernment, like The Rock says, know your role, not to shut up, but know your role. And you know what? Do your job correctly. Each one, and maybe that's what's happening right now. Not everybody's on the same page or the same frequency, because that's what it's showing, and it's hurting the product all across the board.
And the death of kayfabe is showing itself a lot these days. That's why a lot of stories go nowhere, because we focus so much on the reality aspect. A lot of these people, and they're great athletic specimens. They don't have that much depth to their characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I agree, because, I don't know. I think Dominic does a good job with the heel stuff, keeping that persona. I think we're conditioned to Unreal. I don't. That's just me. I think the Unreal is kind of the reason why people think kayfabe's. I don't think it's completely dead.
I'll say this: the last two endings to WWE this week, SmackDown and Raw, the circle jerk fest we saw, the respect fest, the glaze fest. It's too much into reality for these people, because none of their characters have any mythological ethos to them. I'm like, oh man, I respect. They might well be saying their real names out there. Might well be saying Cody Runnels, Phil Brooks, Joe Anoa'i, and Randall Keefe. You might well just say their real names. Just say it, because I can't buy them as fictitious characters anymore. It's too real, and that makes it quite boring.
I got you.
Yeah, because if it's not personal jabs, what else are they doing to entertain you in these promos now? We used to have generational promos where guys would go off on other guys' characters. Now you don't have that. We're just going to talk about, I'll use Trick as an example. We use Gingerbread Man, which I enjoyed last night. But again, these are just personal jabs. This has nothing to do with their so-called wrestling characters. And you can only go so far with that. Though that it limits wrestling this day.
Because what they're trying to do is pop that rating for the Unreal viewership. And also, a lot of the podcasters says, you know what? Oh, coming from Bully Ray, I love when there's some realism in my wrestling. So now they're doing that right now. And maybe for certain people like yourself, didn't like it. I get what you get with that there. And not for nothing, Heather, the wrestling, I love the back in the day, old NWA and stuff. But if you look at the wrestlers, you look at a Nick Botwinkle compared to a LA Knight, and from attractive point of view, you're gonna think LA Knight is a more handsome looking man, the way he's put up and built. Now, Nick Botwinkle could run fucking circles around LA Knight. Nick reached day to from here until Sunday, twice on Sunday. The same thing with a Jimmy Garvin, and so forth. Some of these old timer wrestlers that we talk about, they weren't the Adonis built. They weren't built like, my goodness, that you're gonna when I grow up, I want to look like this guy. No, when you grew up, I wanted to look like Lex Luger. I wanted Psycho Sid's traps. I was telling my wife, all the traps, I wanted that big traps for Psycho Sid. He was like, oh shit, this guy was a monster. No offense. I didn't want to look like Earthquake. I may look like Earthquake now, but I didn't want to look like Earthquake. I wanted to look like fucking Sid. That's my point. That's my point. Where the difference of that I was trying to make earlier is not that I'm crapping on the NWA wrestlers. They were the most entertaining fucking wrestling that there was in the 80s. I loved it. It's just that let's be honest. This is the aesthetic business. This is an aesthetic business. That's why they go crazy when they see a Lash Legend, when they see a Lions, and then when they see Sky Blue. It's aesthetic. They couldn't care about if they could wrestle like a Charlotte Flair. It is what it is. It's the God's honest truth. That's
like who we can make an argument here. People love JYD back in the day, Junkyard Dog.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest wrestlers back then.
Oh, he was entertaining.
Who looks like they're the better wrestler, Junkyard Dog or Trick Williams?
Trick looks like an Adonis. He's cut, but JYD was one of the most greatest storytelling wrestlers in professional wrestling. I love Junkyard Dog, and before the WWE, I love JYD.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying, like when I was talking about Darby Allin. You have to look believable in these spots, and a lot of people that we push today don't.
Yeah,
and that's not an AEW problem. That's a wrestling problem.
It's a visual. Wrestling has always been a visual. I think Vince wanted conditioners to think of the Titans, the big men, the big guys. That's why Andre the Giant was a anomaly. It was a what you call it, an attraction, attraction, all those things. But yeah, this is a good spirit argument. This was a good one here. I know we got WrestleMania here. One thing is, everyone out there in WrestleMania on Vegas, I'm not gonna lie, Chris, I feel a little bit of a fear of missing out. Especially when certain people are out there saying that they're the champions of women's wrestling and women's podcasts, and because they react and goofiness and they're holding watch-alongs. Man, Chris, we do so much more for the women independent wrestlers on our interviews and telling their stories. And meanwhile, we see other people out there and all that stuff. How many women have we interviewed in the independent scene?
So we have interviewed a couple. I'm going to give you guys the names. We have interviewed Jody Threat. We have interviewed Alejandra Leona, Janai Kai twice, La Brava Mayhem, Paige Cullett, who's with Juggalo Championship Wrestling right now.
Ring rat.
Yeah,
Ring
her.
rat.
Lady Shadow, Angie Savage, Bombshell Haley Danielle, Denise Day, Natalia Perez, Jayla Heights, Valentina Vasquez, Nahir Robles, and remember that Nancy Estrella one that you did from Puerto Rico? Those are the ones that I gathered around from our history of professional wrestling of independent wrestlers. So who does more for the women of independent wrestling, especially? I don't think they're not talking about that. Oh, it's ridiculous. And Kev, I'm going to be honest. This might be unpopular. It's because we're male.
Mm-hmm.
It's because we're male. They don't. That's why. Hey, I'll call it out. That's why Denise Salcedo had us blocked, because we were doing better than her on an all women's pay-per-view than her. So these, if it's not a women, really showcasing the women talent, they're not going to take it serious. But when we actually do it, nobody takes it serious. So it's nothing to all the people that we named. We loved having you guys. It's nothing. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the other creators that think that they do so much for you guys when they don't do shit. They really couldn't care less. They care about their super chats and all that stuff, which at the end of the day, that is the goal for this space. Nothing wrong with that. But to go out there and say that, these reaction streamers do a lot for the female aspect of pro wrestling, that's bullshit. But because they're females reacting to it, they don't even do anything. And then I'll let you go, Kev. They don't even do anything for the female content creation space. They all hate each other. They all compete against each other. They might act like best friends online, but in reality, it's all this behind the scenes bullshit. And it's all beef. They don't even do anything for their own fucking space, let alone the women's wrestling industry. Yeah, I agree. Take it away, dude, because it's bullshit.
Yeah, I heard that from Trish Stratus. She went on Busted Open and says, "Oh yeah, I'm teaming up and we're doing a watch along in some fucking bar or whatever." And Weezy Blonde is going to host the watch along. And Weezy Blonde has a great community for her watch along. That's not the lie that Trish Stratus says. But the lie is what she does so much for women's wrestling. Really, all she does is react on her watch along. That's it. There's nothing there. She loves who she loves in her wrestling her podcast. That's a fan. Have I seen her come and sit down and have an interview and bring these people on? And not just the mainstream ones. I'm bringing everyone. And the reason why we do their interview is not about knowing about their sex life. I've said this, and when I reach out to these ladies, I said, "Look, I am a married man for over 30 years. I am not interested in your panties or getting in your pants. I just want to know how you fell in love with professional wrestling. I want to hear your story. I want our audience, regardless if it's a small one or a large one, I don't care. I want someone to hear your story, how you fell in love with the art of professional wrestling." That's why we invoke and ask for these young ladies to come on our channel. Again, but for them to say what she has done so much for women's professional wrestling, really? When we are here, and I don't live off of content creator. I am an electrician. I am a new construction electrician. I do this for fun because my grandfather got me into professional wrestling, and my uncle used to take me and watch, and I love professional wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here. This is not I don't live off the content creator, nor I care for it right now. Don't care for it. But to say that you're in my little impact as a hobby, I've done, what we have done for the women, me and Chris has done with the women's wrestling, and we don't even get a sniff and mention but the minute I call someone a plant, they like to clip it and say, oh look, they fought look at the accusations. It's the same women. Know the difference. If you're getting into the wrestling, know the difference between a fucking plant and a mark.
When it comes down to wrestling, they people view wrestling fandom as patriarchal, and the women, I guess Trish Stratus felt her way to throw a little sisterhood in here by saying, "Oh, we're not going to help the men prop up. I'm going to prop up all ladies because the lady demographic is growing in wrestling." So I've noticed this. So they feel like we're just going to have all the women together, and we're not going to build up men anymore. They're making it more political than what it should be, which is just a wrestling fandom community coming together. So I get why it bothers you. I understand that completely, but it's just the matriarchal and the patriarchal beefing with each other. We got that in real life. Now we got it in wrestling. So it's sad to see where it comes to.
I mean, it sucks.
I have nothing else to add because
neither do I.
This has been an issue. I rightfully so. It bothers you because you do a lot, and that's the one thing I don't think people understand either. Like Kev does a lot to make sure these interviews and all this stuff goes well, and it is ridiculous that we're kind of left out of the water. It's not going to stop us from coming here and doing what we like to do and talking about the theater and the sport that we love. But it does get frustrating to a point where, we talk to these people, they're cool with us. That's the thing. These talent, or most of them, are cool with us still. So when I see stuff like that, it bothers me a little bit too, because you know, I'm there interviewing them too, and we all are in, you know, we get people to watch, and people still don't give us the respect, Kev. It's fucking ridiculous. I feel like we're gonna go on this spiel forever because it's gonna keep happening, and it always happens with the same demographic of people, and that's what's
It's always the same people that don't
always the
cover
same
nothing.
fucking people. That's the part that's why I'm at this point. It's like, because it's the same people.
Mhm.
It hasn't changed since Slammiversary last year. That's when I think, in my opinion, shit started. Oh, well, we started being a little bit of a threat. That's my opinion. Slammiversary last year, we became a threat to a lot of these people, and they wanted to take us down.
They're
I
not
can
going
believe
to take
that.
us down.
I
And
believe
they're not.
that.
No, they're not going to. They're not going to. But you know, they're going to keep trying. They're going to keep failing. It's not going to work. But it's very odd, I think, because we don't fucking do anything to anybody. The only time you hear me calling somebody out, or I made a whole video about them, it's because they had our Twitter blocked. It's because I have a reason. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Just leave us the fuck alone. We don't bother any of other content creators. We're not in your guys' chat or in your streams messing with you guys like a lot of people actually are. So just leave us the fuck alone and let us talk about pro wrestling and watch along. That's it. That's all I got.
Well said.
Leave us the
Well
fuck alone. Let us do what we do. If you don't like it, screw you. Because at the end of the day, we all have different opinions on this panel, and we can agree to disagree. And I think that's what makes us unique. So if you guys have the problems with what we say, tough shit. It's our opinion. We don't even disagree. So you guys got to let your pro wrestling fandom get in the way of, your human being side. Oh, because wrestling, I'm not friends with this. That's fucking ridiculous. Excuse my language, but stop letting wrestling dictate your whole life. Go like Kev always says, pick one of his fishing rods behind him and go outside. That's what I'm going to do before Mania. So there's other shit. Leave us alone. Let us do what we do and stop bothering us.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There you go. That's it. That's all we got for today, because we're going to be coming back on in a couple hours. For 5:45, we'll be on for the WrestleMania watch long. It will not be on YouTube. It will be on the Rumble and Kick app. So make sure you get that there. The video description will be there. Let's go. As long as you provide a forum, there are others can share their opinion. This is what they're about. So some don't. Yeah, that's right. That's why everybody has their own platform. Say what you got to say. That's why I always tell everybody, be an island of relevance. Be your own personal take. That's you. That's what makes you. But when you copy and paste a lot of stuff, then you got to call it the bullshit.
And even if I don't like the shit you're saying, I'm not going to go into your fucking chat or do anything and like I'm just not going to acknowledge you. I don't know why people can't do the same for us. Just don't acknowledge us. It's that simple. When we slide up on your algorithm, keep scrolling. But when you acknowledge us in a hateful way, that's when these conversations get brought up. And I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but tough shit in the chat or whatever watching. Tough shit. Leave us alone and stop with the, with the BS, because we don't do anything but come on here and give you guys our opinions. Kev shows you guys the wrestling for free every fucking day. Stop. Leave us alone. Leave us alone.
All right. That is our program here. We appreciate you. We're going to say good afternoon. We're going to have some lunch and do all the good stuff, and we'll be right back. We'll be back a little later on. So thank you so much, man. Don't forget to check it out, and we'll talk to you later, guys.